It's time to go nuclear. In Minecraft? Over the next 1,000 days, I'll be making good use of the Create mod, and more specifically, some of its more popular add-ons, transforming this island into a fully functional nuclear power station, generating over 1.2 million stress units, and capable of storing over 1.4 billion energy. Let's just hope I don't have a meltdown. Oh, jeez. Oh, no. No, no, no. Oh, jeez. No, something else is... Oh, no, it's... Oh, no, we're having a meltdown. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, I've got radiation. I've got mining fatigue. Stop it. I don't want to die. What could possibly go wrong? Let's create. In the last episode, I decided to move to a brand new area and start working on a nuclear power station. Wait a minute, what's that? He pronounced nuclear the American way? Fake British!
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture.
Nuclear.
Because the power station I want to build is going to be nuclear.
Nuclear.
Start working on a nuclear power station.
Nuclear.
Because the power station I want to build is going to be nuclear.
Nuclear.
Start working on a nuclear power station.
Nuclear. 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 Nuclear.
They're the same picture.
Why are you the way that you are?
Yes, that's right, nuclear. We're going to be using radioactive thorium to generate a whole bunch of power. And also, last episode, I went to the end and got a whole bunch of end stuff that I don't really know what to do with, including some shiny elytra and some eternal crystals. But I don't need those right now, because right now it's time to get cracking on with this power station. So now that my pockets are empty, everything's tidy, I've popped down a waste down here, which is just across the road from our power station. And in order to make a nuclear power station, I'm going to need a whole bunch of thorium, which is from the Create New Age add-on. Now, thorium itself can be mined, but you can also generate thorium from thorium. But in order to do that, you need stone and clay and water and mix it all together, and then you get 2 thorium. So basically, once we've got a bit of thorium, which I already have, we can start doubling it up as long as we've got a stone and a clay farm and a water source. Which means we're probably going to need a refinement center as part of this power station, which means we're probably going to need power to power the refinement station, and we're going to also have to do something with this island to flatten it out to make it buildable-onable. And those are definitely words.
Nuclear.
Once we've refined down our thorium, we're then going to put it through some crushing wheels, and we're going to have a 10% chance of getting radioactive thorium, which we then use to make nuclear fuel. For that, we're going to need iron sheets, so we're going to need another iron farm. And in order to get enough of this, because there's only a 10% chance, we're going to need an absolute ton of thorium, so our thorium refinement center is going to have to be producing an awful lot of thorium. Geez, we're going to need a big one. So I think first things first, what we need to do is completely clear out this island, make it usable, and start considering how we're going to build all of this. Now, I could just use a mining machine to flatten the entire thing down, but then it's going to be, well, very low down. What I actually want to do is, I don't know, some sort of ridge or wall around it that we can have pipes coming out with all of the radioactive fluid leaking into the rivers and killing all of the wildlife. That sounds like the sort of thing that I'd like to do. You want to kill the wildlife? Well, it's just for show. It's not real, guys. It's Minecraft. Don't worry about it. And there we go. We now have a very flat looking island with a lot of rubbish around the outsides, but plenty of space to work on. Although I still need to bring the top section out to the edges and build the walls around the outside, but at least we've got something to start with, right? And I think we're going to start with building our little building that's going to be housing our thorium refinery. And I guess we should probably... See, I've got an idea of how I want the power station. So my idea is we're going to have like 3 big smokestacks, or maybe 2 big smokestacks. And I realise they're for steam, not smoke. And then a big old building in front of it, which I've got an idea in my head of a design from, and within that I want all of the processes and everything that's going to be going on with that. Which means building a little building for a thorium refinery is probably not the best thing to do, because I want it in with all of that. But I don't feel like this is a good point in this video to start building the actual big old power station. So maybe we need something temporary to start with that we can then build on later. Or maybe I need to bite the bullet and get on with the jobs that I need to be doing. Perhaps a building one can help me out at this point. And I'm pretty sure I had one of those kicking about somewhere, just not entirely sure where. So I'm going to have to build one, which is a nice easy thing to do. So all I need to do is get my stick and do that and put that on there, and then if I go into my little area around here, I can then upgrade that to a netherite building wand. And I'm pretty sure I just wasted some netherite there, but let's see what this thing can do. Let's take a base material that we can use for getting some foundations down. So we'll take a whole bunch of tuff. We'll head back over to the power station and let's make some circles. So I want to place circles. I don't need them filled. I don't know if they need to be even, but what I do need them to be is the size that I want them to be. So if I put that in my offhand, I don't want it just in the ground. Okay, how do I make them place above the ground? Drop on player, drop on block. I feel like I might need to go in a test world to figure this out. Okay, so here in this nice little flat world that we can make a mess of, if I click there, no. Click there, no. Okay, maybe I need a block down first to set this. There we go. So then I can just sort of drag out. I understand. So then if I was to, say, click there, then I get a circle. Okay, I understand how that works now. That's actually nice and easy. If I do it filled, and I click on that and then drag it out, yes, it fills it in. Okay, that's good as well then. And I guess even means that it's going to be an even middle rather than an odd middle. So let's try another one over here and then put that down and make a small one. Yeah, that's going to do a 2 by 2. Okay, right. So let's turn even off and then change the plane. I can get it to go up and down or side to side. Okay, yep, that's good. The axis on there doesn't seem to matter, and the rotation doesn't seem to matter, and the drop on player and block doesn't seem to matter. Okay, we know how to make circles now. I can go and get some power station stuff put in place. So back on the main world then, if I was to, for instance, put down a block there, and then drag that out and bring that to, I guess, around about that sort of size. Is that going to be the right sort of size for a steam stack at the bottom? That's still going to be pretty big. That'll probably end up sort of around at this point up here. It probably wants to be bigger than that, I think. Now, how do I get rid of it all? Destroy area. Oh, there we go. And then I need a tool. Okay, wand menu. Let's put my pickaxe in there then. There we go, get it all back. Fantastic. My tool has taken durability damage, but it's not too bad. So let's work out how big we want this thing then. So from this block here to this block here is 21 blocks, which means the overall power circle thing would be 42 blocks. So let's just pop that down. That looks like a more substantial base for a smokestack, but then that's going to be absolutely huge. But that feels probably more right in terms of the overall size of this thing. And I think that gives us enough room to the side to put another one there, but that is going to limit us a little bit in terms of the actual building that I'm going to be making. But I feel that's probably about right. So let's come over here a little bit and pop another one down. So that's 21 to there. Click that on there. Bring this over to here. And this should be the same size as the other one, although apparently I've run out of tuff. And that it feels a little bit far away though. Oh, geez. So let's try that again, but a little bit closer to this one. We do want it staggered back in this direction a little bit. So if I come out, say 50 blocks from here, that should work. 50 blocks might even be too far. So let's go 48 from there. Now I just want to go 21 blocks out from there. So this should be the circle. So if I click on there and bring it out to here, how does that look? It's way too far away. What am I thinking? I'm going to need a minute. That looks a bit better. We've got space down the side to get through, and now we've got two big old circles next to each other, and that leaves me the front here to have a very big circle. Because yes, this power station I'm going to be building is going to be built around a circle. But how big do I want my circle to be? I don't know. So all I'm going to do is go somewhere midway between here and just place down a whole bunch of blocks until I feel like this is half the size I want it, and then build a big old circle around that. That's 64 blocks to there, which is pretty big. I probably want it this way slightly as well, maybe, but if I go somewhere in the middle of that, we should be okay. I think that sort of size could work, and that sort of position's fine, and I think this power station is going to need other little buildings and things around it, because of course it is actually going to need power to power it. initially, so we're going to need a power station to power the power station before we can power the power station. So we've got space over here to put a little steam power station in here at some point, and I think around the side of this building we'll probably have like square bits coming off with little rooms and stuff like that, but I want the sort of main core of the power station probably to be somewhere in the middle of this with rooms around the outside. We'll probably have our little steam power station over here to power the power station, and then we'll probably have some other stuff, maybe all of the electrical components and things that we need to send the power across to the main area over here somewhere. Now, in terms of these smokestacks, it's going to be relatively easy to build these things up. I'm going to be using a gradient of different types of stone and tuff and things like that to build them, but that should just be circles on circles on circles going quite high up into the sky. And once we've got one, we'll be able to copy paste that over to that one with the schematic cannon. But this building's going to be completely different, and I haven't planned it out yet, which for a building of this size and scope I kind of need to do. So we're not going to worry about that just yet, which means I think we should probably start with a little tiny building to the side for our steam power station, and then we can put our thorium refinery in there. Hopping back into my flat world, I've been fiddling with these steam towers. Taking a little bit of inspiration from Google, generally speaking, they seem to be a little bit dirty around the top and then sort of fade to sort of a yellowy colour, so I've gone with limestone. I've tried to do a little bit of blending at the top in order to sort of make that fade into the limestone, and I'm not really sure the limestone kind of works. I did try tuff down here, which kind of looks okay, but it looks very bland. It needs something to retexture the whole thing, and I also tried the smooth limestone instead of the sort of normal limestone as well, but I think I do prefer the normal limestone, but I think the whole thing just needs breaking up a bit, which is a big job because this thing is absolutely massive. So I think I'm going to carry on working on this in my spare time so that I've got a copy of this I can import to the world, but in terms of shape I think it's okay. And speaking of shape and size, of course this thing is absolutely humongous on the inside, and seems though this is a steam tower, maybe we should have the steam engines in here. Or maybe not, I don't know. Regardless, back on the world, I have brought a few of the bits and bobs over with me, and I've also brought a whole bunch of different types of blocks with me, and I've started laying out a little bit of a foundation for where I was going to put the steam power plant, and I think this is probably big enough to do that. Now, because nuclear power stations tend to be very grey and white and boring, I'm going to be making most of these things relatively grey and white and boring, but I do want to have a really interesting emphasis on the main building, and it's going to have a bit of colour on there as well. But before we get to that, I need to start making myself a whole bunch of different types of tuff blocks so that I can craft the foundations, make it look all nice and pretty, get the foundations down, and then come up with an overall design for these buildings. And I want these buildings to look relatively modern, a little bit like in this picture we've got here. And I could end up using a whole bunch of concrete to do that, but I'm going to try my best to do it out of stone and stone variants, just because I've got an absolute ton of those, and I think it would probably look better, maybe, possibly. We'll see. We'll find out. After a little bit of jiggery-pokery, we've now got a limestone building with these little gaps down the side to give it some texture and variation. We've got some fans and aerial things on the roof, and it's relatively plain and simple. I've got a little loading bay at the front here and some glass either side. Inside there is absolutely nothing at all, and I think this would have benefited from being made out of concrete. I think that would have looked nice as opposed to the limestone, but it also would have looked quite plain. And if our big towers are going to be all sort of variated and gradiented, having a stark contrast of a very plain sort of concrete building, I don't think would have looked too good together. So what I need to do now is put in a couple of steam engines. But what are those steam engines going to run off? Obviously we're going to need lava pumping into them, which means we're going to need a big old lava source. And I could build a big old infinite lava source underground, link it up with the nether and steal a whole bunch of lava out of there. But once the nuclear power plant is up and running, that's going to be taking over the power production. which means this thing's relatively temporary. So I think just another little dripstone lava farm will do the job, and I could probably squeeze that in here as well. Maybe get one at the back over here and just a steam engine at the front, because we don't need too much power to get us going right now, I don't think. That being said, if I'm going to be doing a dripstone lava farm, I probably don't want it inside of that building, because I think this building would look a lot better if it was just sort of an industrial power plant, i.e. just steam engines and things like that going on, rather than having a big old dripstone farm taking up most of the space, which means I probably need another building to put the dripstone stuff in, which I really wasn't planning to do today. If I'm making a building that's going to have a dripstone lava farm in it, it's going to need to be relatively close to that one, probably where I've put my beacon, but without having built the main building yet, I really don't know what sort of space I'm going to be having. So perhaps it would be better just to build the dripstone lava farm underneath all of this, where it's disguised and out of the way, and just pump the lava up as if it's being pumped up from underground. I think that makes more sense. The problem is though, I've only got 49 pointed dripstone, so I'm going to need a bunch more of that, so I'm going to have to take that as well as some of this actual dripstone in order to make a dripstone farm, so that then I can make more pointed dripstone and make a lava farm, which means I'm going to need buckets of water too, but fortunately where we're working has plenty of water. So first of all, I'm going to dig a little temporary area underneath this thing, get a dripstone farm in place, and then once I've got a bit more dripstone, I can turn it into a lava farm. And it should be pretty much the same farm. So let's actually build it from in here. Let's take, I guess, this point here as the little access to the basement. Let's dig down a few blocks, not too far, and then we'll just dig out a big old room down here, ready for the lava farm. Well, for 2 hours of growing, I was expecting a little bit more than what we've got, but I suppose this is going to be more than we need, so let's just break a whole bunch of this off, ideally. Do we get the whole thing if I break that? I think so. And now I can finish off all of the dripstone underneath, making sure every single spot has got one, which I believe it has. And now I just need a whole bunch of basins, a whole bunch of pipe, and a couple of steam engines. How hard could it be? Basins. We might as well have 64 of those and get all of those put underneath. And I think we can just click on the underneath like this, but I feel like I actually want it down one level. It does seem a little bit high up. And there we go, that's all of the basins in, and now I need to tear all of this to shreds, get rid of all the water, and put this down a level. And here we go. We now have 3 level 4 boilers, and each one has only 3 steam engines on it, which is a little bit of a waste, but there we go. And I've laid them out like this just because I wanted to do something a little bit more different, a little bit more interesting, and I think each one works. It's nicely balanced, but yeah, I feel like I should have another steam engine on each one to actually get the most out of it, but even just like this is generated as 147,000 SU, which is plenty, and yes, these glasses look stupid. And downstairs, not a great deal has changed other than the fact that we've now got our lava farm. Of course, these didn't want to be basins, they all needed to be cauldrons, which I've now switched out, and yes, none of them are full, but the machinery is keeping up, so we are pumping enough up there. This isn't dry, but so far it seems on average we're generating enough lava to keep all of those blaze burners going. We've got a few water wheels here powering the pumps to get the water and the lava up there, and we might as well just make these look a little bit... Where's the pump on that one? There was definitely a... What? We're doing all this with one pump? I could have sworn that had a pump. It's got water in it, but I guess that was... Okay. We don't need this pipe then. Ah! Oh dear, we did need that one. Oh no, it's waterlogged. Oh jeez. Oh, apparently I've smashed all my water wheels to bits as well. Oh, this is all going so well. How did you fall off? Overstressed? Of course you're overstressed. You haven't got enough stuff. There we go. So apparently I'm pumping all of that water up there with one pump, but this thing is on full speed, so I'm not surprised. So let's go and check it back out at the top, making sure it's all still actually going. Put my stupid goggles back on. Yep, full speed, full speed, full speed. And yes, I know I could combine all of these into one boiler and just have one big one, but I kind of like it how it's set up like this. And I think it could be fun just to have these extra ones sticking out the front here. Let's get some shafts on those and see what it looks like. They do stick out quite far into the room, but if we can find a way to combine all of those together with those ones and generate all of the power together, that should give us a bunch more SU. So let's just get rid of those for a second. Let's get rid of that and that. If we turn that into a horizontal gearbox like that, and then bring this across the top here, we can then add a vertical gearbox on there, bring that down to there, and then potentially join these together with another vertical gearbox there. Is it spinning the right way? It is. Let's join those together, bring that down to there, put our little stress meter on it, and rotate it, I guess. And now we're generating 196,000 SU. That should be more than enough to get us started in this area. But now this beam at the front looks kind of weird. I feel like it needs supporting. So let's grab a little bit of girder from there, stick a bit there, a little bit more there and stick it there, and maybe even bring this down to the floor so it all feels a little bit more solid and secure. That works. Let's do the same at this side. And then one there, put a little bit of shaft in it, and there we go. It all works rather nicely. Feel like this needs some sort of support though, and if I put another set of girders in along there, it will work, but it looks a bit odd. But then I could put my metal brackets underneath, and it would look a bit better, if I got them in the right place at least. I'm not sure about that bit. We'll just leave that bit float. Oh, actually, what about girders off the floor, like that, and then a little bracket on top. That kind of works. So there we go. We now are fully powered, ready to power the power station, which is not going to be powered by that. It's going to be powered by something else, but at least that gives us enough power to start refining that thorium. Thorium ore can be found in the ground, and when you break it down, you get 3 thorium from it. And you can also duplicate your thorium by mixing it with clay and stone, which is exactly what we need to do next. And the reason we need to do that is so then we can crush all of the spare thorium we're getting into radioactive thorium, of which there's only a 10% chance of getting any, and then we can use that along with some iron in order to make nuclear fuel. And nuclear fuel is used inside of a nuclear reactor in order to create nuclear power. And then we're going to need a whole bunch of heat exchangers and things like that so that it doesn't blow up, but that's getting further down the line when we've actually built that thing, which is going to take absolutely ages. So let's concentrate on building a thorium refinery, and for that we're going to need another one of these buildings, probably squeeze in somewhere outside of that building somewhere, and I'm guessing probably where my beacon is, just there. And I kind of like my beacon being here, so I'm not going to destroy it, but I am going to move it. And in order to move it, I'm going to need to first of all glue it all together, just like that, and then we can use a mechanical piston to just shove it out of the way, and I don't know where to shove it. We'll just shove it in that direction, I guess, so it's out of the way over there. Mechanical piston, lots of piston arms, and a hand crank. And off we go. Goodbye. Excellent. Good. The beacon has been relocated. We can get rid of all the glue that's holding it together now, and now I can build in this little area here, which does mean I'm actually going to have to build out this landscape a little bit in order to put down another one of those types of buildings just around about here. And there we go. We've got a decent sized foundation, which is a little bit bigger than that one, and that's exactly what we're going to need, because this is going to need to produce a whole bunch of stuff, and to be honest with you, I think this is probably still not going to be big enough. So in order to build this, we're going to be using the trowel, and the reason we're using that is it can randomize blocks. Whatever is on your hotbar, it will randomize. So what I've got is 4 lots of the cut limestone brick, so we're going to get most of that. 2 lots of just normal limestone, so we're going to get a little bit of that. And finally, 1 stack of cut limestone, so we're going to get the smallest amount of that, and that will give us this sort of variation that we need on here. So let's start with the corners, which are going to be exactly the same as that over there. And then we need to work out how we're going to space these out. And I think we're going to do this in 3s, but it might not fit. Oh, it does. It fits perfectly. Oh, well, that makes life nice and easy. Then the front is going to be exactly the same as that one, so that can be absolutely solid all the way across. And at the back, it's going to be solid as well, which means that's going to be how it looks. And it's going to be slightly higher than that one too, I think, because it's a slightly bigger building. So now that we've settled on this framework, all I need to do now is get my trowel and just build up the walls. And this is nice and easy. We go up 3 blocks, just hold down the button, walk around until it can't place anymore, and then I go up another 3 blocks, which is very slow and tedious, but it gets the job done. Now, before I get carried away with the side of the building, just looking at this in terms of height, I think that feels about right compared to that one. So yeah, I'm just going to do exactly the same thing now down each side, but this time instead of going up 3 and doing that, and then jumping up another 3 and doing that, there's a much quicker way of doing that, and that's just to spam the mouse button and just fly up with my jetpack and hope that I don't miss any. Oh, and my friends have arrived to come and see the building progress. Hey guys, how you doing? You just stand there, don't bother shooting at me, just stand there and admire, that's absolutely fine. And if you could all just stay perfectly still and not move towards me, I'd really appreciate it. Wow, what a good, they're actually listening to me today, this is lovely. Right, anyway, I need some more of this limestoney stuff. And they're still just stood there. Oh, what clever chaps you are. You're not total morons at all. So now that all of the walls in and my best friends have moved there to shelter from the rain, it's time to put the roof on this thing. But before I put a roof on it, I actually want to put some lanterns on the inside so that I don't create a room for even more of my friends to spawn in. Friends? Well, yeah, they're not my friends. It's just... Jeez, it's a joke. And that should be plenty of lanterns around there to keep that nice and light. So now what we need to do is the same sort of thing we did over here for the roof. So what we've got is andesite flagstone slabs with bits of andesite in there and some stone flagstone slabs. Jeez, they're hard to say. And all they are on is the thingy copycat trapdoory things. No, stay. No, So what? How did you get inside? Oh, I left the door open. What are you doing in my machines? Well, you're staying in there now. Nope. Wow. There's just you staying in there, I guess. Have fun. And with this last row, that is all of the roof bits put in, apart from the little bit of detail on the top, which we're going to add in next. And for that, I just need industrial iron, some of these little radiator fans, and a little bit more industrial iron with some copycat beams and shafts. We can do that. I have one propeller. How do I make propellers? Oh, I need andesite. Okay, that's 32 propellers. And now I've not got enough iron sheet. So there we go. We can make 32 radiator fans. Then I need some copycat shafts and some copycat beams. And here we go. Let's throw in a whole bunch of these things. And how did I do it before? 3 from each side in the corners. So we'll do the same sort of thing here as well. So some industrial iron there. A little bit of industrial iron there. A little bit more there, and a little bit more there. We'll throw some fans onto that one, why not? We'll throw some fans onto these two as well, why not? And I think we need some more in the middle as well for this one, because it's such a longer building. So let's come here, and another one there, and then they're equidistant from each other, and we'll do the same thing here, and the same thing there. Let's throw a whole bunch more fans onto these ones as well. And then right in the back corner here, we're going to put my industrial iron in my offhand. We'll have a couple of beams there. We'll have one there. We'll have a shaft there. A couple of bit shafts on there. And then a bunch of shafts coming up from this one here. And there we go. That's the roof done now as well. Next, we need the big old windows at each end. I do want more loading bays in this one as well, because I think it just adds something a little bit unique and different. So it's smashy time. Smash 4. And then just get rid of these pretty much all the way to the other end. And now this is where the copycat slabs come in, because we need copycat slabs doubling up on each pit here so that we can texture the top and the bottom separately. We have those at the bottom of the window there. Oh, I think I'm a block high. No, I just need to do that with this one as well. Just like this. With the window slots now in at both ends, we just need the glass in there, which is more slabs, I believe. Yeah, we use slabs to make them vertical. And I need a whole bunch of light blue stained... Oh, cyan glass is it? I think it's cyan glass. Okay. I've got the glass left. I've got a bit in here still. That's good. And I'm not sure it's going to be enough. So we need to get the vertical slabs in first. So we can just do that facing that way. And then I can just click on those to fill in the rest of the area. And then I should have had this in my offhand. So it actually placed it in while I did it. But it really doesn't matter, because it doesn't take a couple of seconds just to click on each one of those and colour it in. But on this side of the building, I'm going to do it right from the start. Okay, jeez, don't shout at me. It's fine. Didn't do it on purpose. I just forget my offhand exists, okay? It's all my years of playing Bedrock Edition. I didn't know. I did know, but I forget. Oh, I've just... Is that all I need? Like 4 more? 3 more? Jeez. Have I got any glass? No. Glass in here? 1. Got any sand? No. Well, I guess I'm going home. I think I cooked a load of... Yay, I did. I cooked a load of glass last time I was here, so I've got loads of glass now. So now all I need to do is get some cyan dye, and I believe I can make that out of some of the things we've got in here. I've got a bunch of cornflowers there. Need green dye, though. Don't really have a great deal that gives me green dye. And get it from crushing a whole bunch of different things. Ferns and flowers and cactuses. Well, I've got a whole bunch of tulips and poppies. Let's hope some of these will give us some green dye. Let's chuck these into the crushing wheels there. And hopefully... Oh, wow. Okay, that was fast. That was really fast. So let's just stick our green dye with our blue dye, make some cyan dye. And let's just make as many glass panes as we can. Here we go. Stack and a half. And we only needed 3. Done. Windows in, that's good. So next on our list is the little bays at the front, which is nice and easy. Although this time I think we can go a bit bigger. So 2 in from the side, 4 up and 4 across. And again, we're just going to use some stacked andesite slabs and some of our favourite little copycat panels here, just to make a couple of garage-type door thingy-mabobbies. And now that they're in, we just need a little access door to this building, which we'll shove right there. And for that, we're going to use an andesite door, which I've got some of here because I think these look very industrial. We'll throw that on there. And there we go. We now have a full building ready to start getting on with all our production. And I think they kind of look pretty good. They're going to look a whole bunch better once we've got roadways and concrete and all of that sort of stuff around this thing, but for now I think they look fine. Oh, I forgot to do this bottom lip thing. Oh, jeez. In order to do the bottom lip thing, we're actually going to be using the slab stair frame from the Reframed mod, and all I need to do is just basically knock out the bottom of all these walls here, and then very carefully put these in upside down. And these don't place very well at all. They're very awkward to place. If I place one slightly over to the side, it's going to go the wrong way round. And then all I'm going to do is colour the bottom ones in with the stacked deep slate, and then just throw in a random assortment of the bricks and the limestone and the cut limestone in order to just finish those off and make them look right. And I think that just adds the final level of detail to these buildings that they really need. More tedious placing of these things so that I can get them perfectly perfect. Nailed it. Pick up all of the little straggly bits that I've left kicking around. And now the building is complete and ready for the interior. That didn't take too long. I may have made a slight oopsie. I have made this building small. These bits were supposed to be there, giving us a 2 wide gap on either side, which means my building is 2 blocks shorter and 2 blocks wider than it should be, but it doesn't matter because I was only making up the numbers anyway, so hopefully it'll be enough. It does still seem like there's plenty of room on the inside, so fingers crossed we'll get away with it. Now, what I need to do next is actually get power to come in from this building into that one. And I could make some sort of big sort of line on the outside that takes it across, and we might end up doing that in the future for decoration purposes. But for now, because I think that'll look a bit ugly, I'm just going to route the power underground and bring it up inside here somewhere so that we've got power. So let's come into here. We've got our power line just here. However, the majority of it comes to this point here to join together. So let's just take that down further. We'll have that going into... Oh, I think that this is going to be interesting. Huh. Didn't think about that. Oh, it should be all right. We've got enough room. We might have to go around a couple of bends to get there. But I think if we bring it across to the front wall over here, then that makes more sense. So we'll bring that there, throw a gearbox on at that point there, and then I just need to get round to the other side to bring the power across this wall here, and then we just need a hole in this wall all the way through to where our other building is. And that is just there. Bit of shaft there. Throw a vertical gearbox in there. We'll bring that all the way back this way that I've just dug out. And if I just move this all down 1 block, it's not going to get in the way of the floor upstairs. So let's just get rid of that. Bring that 1 more block down over to there, and then that there. And what we do need at the other end is a speed controller. Now, eventually I won't want the power coming in here because it's in the wrong place. I'd rather actually it came up maybe through the wall here and went through the wall that way, or even in the back corner here would be good. But because I've got absolutely no idea how we're going to be laying this building out yet, I should probably deal with that first. Okay, this might look like a mess, but this is actually my plan, and it's relatively simple. It all starts with cobblestone. The cobblestone we are going to smelt into stone. We're going to send that into a basin. We're going to have thorium already, which we're going to throw into a basin. The other half of the cobblestone is going to come down here, get crushed into gravel, get crushed again into sand. During that process, we'll get some clay, which we can send over to a press. We'll also get clay from washing this sand, which we can send into that press, which is going to create clay blocks, which we're going to send into this basin. With all 3 of those ingredients, they're going to come out and get crushed into thorium, which we're then going to send back into the system with that to create more thorium, and then we should have an overflow excess of thorium, which we should be able to then it'll become radioactive or something. I don't know. It's so complicated. Right. Anyway, I've got to build all that inside of here, and yeah, cobblestone generator again. I'm going to need a lot of it. Although I don't know how long nuclear fuel lasts. Do I actually need that much thorium for this nuclear fuel? Surely nuclear fuel lasts a while. So I'm wondering if we could do this small scale. However, the only way I'm going to know is if I go into Creative World and figure this all out. So here I am in my test world, standing in front of a whole range of nuclear generators. Each one of these consists of a funnel with some nuclear fuel in front of it, which is locked with this redstone link so it doesn't go in yet, a reactor fuel inserter, a reactor rod, a heat vent, and then a whole bunch of heat pipe with some Stirling engines on it just to take the heat away so these things don't explode while we're testing them. Each one of these has one more reactor rod than the last one, going all the way up to 6, because 6 reactor rods are needed to make a full-size steam power thing work from a nuclear reactor. And yes, in order for these to be safe, they should be covered in reactor glass, but because I'm in creative mode, I'm not going to be suffering from radiation. It should be absolutely fine, so we're going to run a test. All I've got to do is flick this lever. That will unlock all of the funnels. The one piece of fuel will go in, and we'll be able to time how long they last inside of each one of these reactors. And I'll assume that the one with 1 reactor rod will last a significantly longer time than the one with 6. At this point, I've absolutely no idea. There's only one way to find out, so I'm going to flick this lever at the same time as starting my stopwatch. So 3, 2, 1, go. That should allow all of the nuclear fuel to go in. It has. Each one of these is now nice and bright, and it should be generating heat. And that means these heat vents should be taking away that heat, going into the heat pipe, and that should be powering our Stirling engines. Although I'm going to need some engineer's goggles to see that properly, but there we go. You can see this thing is generating a whole bunch of heat. We're getting 50k from that out of 10k, so it's not going to explode just yet, but that number is going up, which is slightly concerning. And that one's already at 10, and that one's, oh geez, he's going to blow up. Okay, I need more heat pipes, and I need a whole bunch more Stirling engines on these, but this shouldn't affect how long the fuel lasts, I would imagine. Possibly, maybe. So I'm just basically going to stand here, keep my eye on all of them, and see how we get on. Okay, the results are in as expected. Each time you double up the number of rods, the time halves, which makes sense. What didn't make much sense to me, though, was that this one lasted for a full 24 minutes, meaning the one that was 6 long, which is the one we're more likely to use, lasted a whopping 4 minutes. And that doesn't sound like much, but that's really good. The reason that's really good is that I've been playing with some THORIUM refinery processes. This one is running off a single cobblestone generator, which is then getting smelted into stone, crushed into gravel and sand and clay, pressed into clay blocks, and then mixed at the end here. And that produces more than 1 radioactive thorium every 4 minutes, which means just a single piece of cobblestone would be enough to power our 6 long reactor core. However, I wasn't happy with that process. The layout's all higgledy-piggledy, it takes up way too much room, so I had another go at doing it, which is this one, which actually produces 1 radioactive thorium every minute. And this is running off a 3-wide cobblestone generator. But I wasn't finished there either. I decided to schematic our new building into this world and have a go at actually laying out the factory inside to see if I could make it all fit. And this is the one that we're going to be going with. And yes, it might seem jam-packed and complicated and full of all sorts of crazy things, but don't worry, I'm not going to schematic cannon it back into our world. I'm just going to figure out what materials I need and build it step by step with you guys. But yeah, this produces a ridiculous amount, way more than we're going to need, which means we'll never run out of fuel, which means our power station will run forever. So back on my real world, it's time to pop down a schematic cannon, click somewhere, doesn't really matter where, with the schematic, stick it in the cannon and put in the clipboard and find out exactly what materials we're going to need. And there's a ridiculous amount we're going to need, 7 pages worth. So I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of resource gathering before we can carry on.
A few moments later.
So now all of the resources have been gathered, it's time to start building this thing out. And we're going to start with the basics, which is basically just putting all of our power and storage lines in place, which means taking out a whole bunch of these blocks at this level here. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side as well. I'm also going to be moving this door because that's going to be in the way. Instead, we're going to have the door at this point here. And that means I need to move my little clipboard. We'll stick that over there for now. That's just my material list if you're interested. And now I can smash that one to bits and we can just lay a whole bunch of chain drive all the way along here like this until we get to this point at the end where I'm going to flip it round so it's facing upwards like that. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing on this side as well. So let's just pop a couple of those in so I can get that one facing the right way around there and then bring those all the way along the wall, all the way until the very, very end. And in my test world, this is where my power came in, but on this world, my power's coming in over here. And I'd really like it coming in there so that I can switch that round and bring it in from underneath. So let's just do a little bit of jiggery pokery down here. So let's just put a little bit of shaft there for now coming down. At this point here, we're going to have a vertical gearbox, and that's going to go onto the cog of our speed controller. Then we can pop the speed controller there, put a gearbox there, and we can just stick that on full speed. It doesn't really matter which way round this is going right now. We'll worry about that later on. But what I do need is to put a clutch in here. So I'm just going to pop a clutch there, stick a lever on it, and then I can turn all of the power off to this. But obviously these are not linked together. So let's get those linked now. I'm going to bring some shaft up to that point there. I'm going to get some more chain drive, and I'm just going to run that all the way across this wall like this, all the way underneath the window to there, and then just pop a little bit of shaft down there. And now when I flick this lever, everything should be powered. It is. Excellent. Now I'm going to go around and smash all of the bottom ones of these pillars. And this is where we're going to be using our spruce storage trim to connect all of my storage together so that we can lay this thing out without having loads of belt spaghetti going everywhere. I'm going to bring it all the way down there as well, and all the way down this side. And now we've got everything connected by storage trim. And at this point here, where this lantern is where we're going to be having our 15 storage containers. So let's put the controller down. We're just going to build around this so it's nice and neat. And I think we actually only need 14, because in my test world I had a blank one, which is why I've moved the controller up from where it was, which was there, to there. So that's all of our storage in. Now in my test world I also made this look a little bit nicer with some andesite trim just to tidy up the edges around it so it looked like a nice finished off wall. I say andesite trim, this is clearly andesite casing, but there we go, that looks a little bit better now. And now I can pop my lantern back at the top up there and keep everything nice and bright. So that's the main parts in. So first things first, we're going to start off with a cobblestone generator, which is going to be going here. And the reason I want it at this end here is because the entire process, even though they're all separate machines, goes basically from this little garage door bit here, as if the cobblestone was being ferried in. The process goes all the way around down to here, and then all the way back down to here, with our finished product being at this end here, where we've got this garage door, which is effectively where it can get collected from. That's my little theory. That's how it all works. So let's build a cobblestone generator. For a cobblestone generator, of course, we're going to need a bunch of lava, which is why I'm heading down to my lava farm, which is nice and full considering it's actually powering this entire mining town that I'm underneath of. And round here I did have a little system to get it all out, but I guess I must have removed that, which means I'm just going to steal it from these controns. It doesn't need to be in there. That's absolutely fine. And we just need 9 of them. And now, of course, I've got 19. So the way we're going to do this stacked cobblestone generator is relatively simple. There are easier, more compact ways of doing it, but I quite like the industrial look of it once it's finished. And we have 3 drills there, and then a little bit further up we basically have another row of those with another 3 drills on there, and then a little bit higher up than that we have another 3 of those and another 3 drills on there, giving us 9 cobblestone generators in total. The next thing I'm going to do is place some temporary blocks in front of all of these drills where the stone is actually going to be generated. And then off each one of those, I'm going to have another 3 of those coming out the back. I'm going to take these temporary blocks out, and then I'm going to put basically copycat stairs there, which is going to contain the water. Behind those stairs, we are going to have some actual blocks, and getting to the top is pretty difficult for this one, so we're going to have to do a bit of smashy in a minute. We're also going to have some blocks just there at the front, above each of the sets of drills, to stop the lava from pouring out. Now we can get rid of these temporary blocks in the middle. Then underneath each one of these, we're going to be picking up the items with hoppers. So we're going to need to put some more temporary blocks in underneath each one of these, making this a whole full wall. And then underneath that, we can basically have hoppers pointing into that wall and coming out underneath the drills. And then we can get rid of those temporary blocks there. We can get rid of the ones behind the stairs. In fact, I think we can pretty much get rid of all of these temporary blocks that are up here. Although we are going to need some more temporary blocks in front of these drills. But for that, I'm going to use stone because I can leave it there and it won't mess with our system. And the reason we need these temporary blocks is because we're going to be putting copycat boards on the sides of each of these, again, to stop the water and the lava from pouring out. And I'm going to texture each one of these with the andesite casing, as well as putting more blocks on top of those. But before I do that, I actually need to get the water in there. So let's go and make ourselves an infinite water source, just like that. And then I can grab 9 buckets with water. And all we're going to do is just waterlog each one of the stairs. Once we've got the water in, we can put the lava in, which is going to be going in front of those. Don't worry about fire because I've got fire spread turned off, because why would you play with fire spread on? And as much as the one at the top is self-contained, I'm actually going to need some more temporary blocks on these ones so that I can put some more panels on. I can also fill the backs of these with some more of this andesite casing just here. And then we can put some of these panels on there and there, and there and there, and then there and there. Now I can take out those temporary andesite casings there and fill that full of lava. And yes, I know I don't need a full lava source for each one. I could just put one lava source in the middle, but it looks nicer with it all full. And there we go. That's all of the water and lava in for each one of these things. Next, I'm going to dig a line in the floor in front of this bit that I've already dropped down there. I'm going to run a whole bunch of this storage trim up to in front of the hoppers there, put one there, and one there, and on top of these I'm going to put some interfaces. Then on top of those I'm basically just going to have these chutes coming up past these hoppers all the way to the top, and that's going to make sure that the hoppers don't back up when the cobblestone generator kicks in and all of the items can end up in our storage system. So let's go and designate one of these boxes cobblestone, and over at this point here I need a little bit more chain drive and smash a few more of these. So let's just put in some chain drive there and then bring one down that way and then put a bit more in there and bring one. Wow, I've done those both wrong. There we go. And then another one just there facing down as well. And then we can link those together with a little bit of shaft, and that's all of those three connected. So now if I turn this on, our cobblestone generators should kick in. We should start, well, generating stone actually. These are stone generators, but they'll get broken down into cobblestone. And all of those should be going through into the system, generating us around about 9 every second or second and a half, which is plenty. But we don't want that on making all of this noise right now, so let's turn it off and start working on the next part of this, which is going to be a burner and a washer. Burner? Well, like the blaster thingy, the smelter. Sure, jeez. So for the blasters, we're actually going to be taking up 2 of these little alcoves, starting in the middle with a gearbox on there, which we're going to convert to a vertical gearbox, and then underneath that, we're going to have some chain drive poking upwards, and then just running down the side, 3 out this way. In fact, it's not, it's 2 out that way. We're going to have 2 fans there, and then we're going to have 2 fans there, and then this is where we need to make sure our power's facing in the right direction, because both of those need to be blowing, although I guess it actually doesn't matter when you've got them set up this way, whether they're blowing or pushing, so I think that's absolutely fine. We then need another vertical gearbox at that point there, and another vertical gearbox at this point just here. We're then going to place some more chain drive across the top, and that way we can stick 2 more fans on each of these to make sure we got 4 fans blowing on both the washer and the blaster. At the back here I'm going to put a storage interface, and I'm going to put another one there, and then we're going to dig out the floor again in front of each of these, and we're going to come out to basically the middle but 1 block back. I'm then going to fill that channel with this spruce storage trim, bringing it up 1 block at the end on both of those, and I'm going to stick another storage interface on the front of each one of those. Then we just need a belt joining those together, and we can make that belt look a little bit fancier with some of this casing just to tie it all together and make it look nice. And then we need a brass funnel that end, a brass funnel that end, and the same thing on this side as well. This side is going to be the blaster, so we're going to have stone on there, and we only want 1 coming out at once, which means we then need a filter for normal stone at that side, so the cobblestone will only go through into there once it's fully been turned into stone. We then can stick that out like that to make it more accessible, but we're not going to be doing those ones because we won't be able to get above it from there. We need access from the side. I'm going to grab some copycat panels and put them in front of this fan here like that, and I'm going to put glass in them to make them solid, and then I can grab 2 more buckets of lava and just put those in front of those fans, and that's pretty much done other than powering the belt. On this side I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but this side's going to be having sand coming out at 16 at a time, and it's going to have clay going in, which we now pop on the top because I've extended it. And again, we just need some copycat panels in front of there. We'll break that one, put glass in those, and then I just need 2 more buckets of water, which I can put in front of those fans there like that. So that's that one pretty much done. But both of these actually need speed controlling to make sure they don't go too fast. For the speed controller, all I'm going to do is come off the wall just there, bring that down a block, put the cogwheel on there, put the speed controller underneath it. I'm going to set that to 12. And we want to make sure that's going the right way, which we don't know yet until we plugged it in. Put a shaft there and put a shaft there to join that to that one. And I could just run that shaft all the way along to this one to do this one, but in order to give us the maximum flexibility to make sure that we're matching our speeds together, we're going to have exactly the same thing on this one. Join that together and put that on 12. Now, the reason the speed control matters on this is because for each thorium we want to produce, we need 1 block of stone and 1 block of clay. Each block of clay costs 4 clay balls, and whilst you do get a 5% chance of getting the clay balls when we're going to be crushing the gravel, we're going to ignore these ones, and instead we're just going to concentrate on the clay we get from washing sand. And for that, there's a 25% chance again. So for every stone we generate, we actually need to wash 16 sand in order to get 16 clay balls on average, in order to then make the 4 clay blocks in order to make the thorium, so that we're not just making way more stone than we need, or we're not making way more clay than we need. So having this fine speed control on each of these just means that we can make sure that we're not generating too much of one thing or too much of the other. So now those are in place, let's turn the power back on and make sure they're actually facing in the right direction. This one is going in the right direction, and so is that one as well. And now we've actually got stone coming into this. Let's just actually move that into a different drawer. But of course we're not getting any sand or gravel coming through yet, because we need to do the crushing system, which is what we're going to do next. But if you look at this underneath here, you can just about see that that cobblestone turns into stone perfectly before it goes into that tunnel, meaning that our speed of 12 is just the right speed for that to get going through. But let's turn it all off. And let's build a big old crushing system. So the next thing we need to do is crush cobblestone down into gravel, and then crush that down again into sand in order to get our clay. And the easiest way to do that is with a stacked crushing system, which is similar to what I made in my last series. We're going to start by putting our storage interface there and another one there, and again doing the same thing, just digging out the floor all the way until this point here, putting some more of this storage trim in there to connect it all together, and popping one there and sticking another storage interface there. Then we're going to have some belt coming along here, just like that. And then on this one, we're actually going to have another bit of trim and another storage interface with some more belts coming all the way along here, just like that. On each of these belts, we're going to stick a shaft in the middle there. And on each of those, we need a vertical gearbox, just like that. And the same thing on this side, just like that. And then we can join those together with a little bit of shaft like that. Next, we're going to grab a horizontal gearbox, and I think it goes on this side in order to make sure that that belt goes in the right direction, and that should in turn power everything else to make sure it goes right. But let's go and find out by turning this thing on. What we need to make sure is both of those are going in opposite directions, which they are. So we're going to have the cobblestone coming out of there, going into there as gravel, the gravel coming out of there, going into there as sand. Easy. So we need a brass funnel on there because that's an output, and a brass funnel on there because that's an output. But because we're not worried about what's going in at the other end, we can just put on andesite funnels, and then we can stick our cobblestone on there. I'm going to set that to exactly 16 pieces at a time coming out of there, and then we can put our gravel on there. And speaking of gravel, that means we need a slot for gravel now. And now we can throw on our crushing wheels, which means getting rid of those there, popping one on there and there, one on there, one on there, and that should be it. We should be good to go with that. So let's flick the power on and see what happens. There's no cobblestone. Oh yes, of course. What I also need to do is get some more of this storage trim and actually just join those two interfaces together so that this one's actually connected to the system. Now we'll get cobblestone coming out of there. That's going to go into there as gravel, and we should see that we're getting sand and clay coming through here, which we are. Excellent. Oh, flint at the moment. We should occasionally get a bit of clay as well. So now that that's all working, we can turn the power off once again, and then we can concentrate on the next section of this, which is going to be turning our clay balls into clay blocks. For the clay processing system, this is probably one of the easiest things to do. Yet again, we're just going to dig a hole in the floor, throw some trim into there, and then just stick that one up at the end with an interface on there, stick another interface there, and just chuck another belt down. And while we're at it, let's just tidy that up, because we're not going to be fiddling with that anymore. We're going to put a brass funnel on there, an andesite funnel on there, a basin on there, and another andesite funnel in front of that. And then if we click on this side with the wrench, although it's not visually there, we will actually have the output of that going onto the belt and going into that funnel. Above that, we're going to put a press, and if we spin that round, it's going to be more accessible to our power coming in. We need a little bit of clay. We're going to make one clay block there. We're going to put that as the filter on the basin, put the other clay on there, and set that to 4 at a time so we're not overflowing this thing. And then all we need to do is connect this chain drive here to the side of the belt there, and then we just need to connect this to that. So we'll have a little bit more chain drive just there, a shaft there, and that should be everything connected. Let's go and turn the power on and see if it's going to work. It's going the wrong way, of course it is. In that case, what we're going to do is come around here, throw a gearbox on there, turn that into a vertical one, put another one there, turn that vertical, and make sure it's actually facing the belt, and then put a shaft there, and there we go. Now we are turning our clay balls into clay blocks, which are going into the system, so we're now producing clay blocks, which gives us pretty much all of the ingredients we need to start duplicating our thorium. And just to go back over that idea, we're taking 1 thorium, 1 stone, 1 clay, and some water to turn it into 2 thorium. So we're doubling up our thorium every time we add some stone, clay, and water. And that's exactly what we're going to build next. At this point, it's probably a good idea to throw some thorium into the system so we've actually got some to work with, and yes, you guessed it, we're going to be basically just coming off that wall there. But we're doing things differently this time. This time we're going to have 3 interfaces just there. In front of each of those we're going to have 3 depots. We do actually need to dig a channel underneath just like we did before and fill that full of storage trim so it all connects together. And we're going to bring that all the way over up until this point here, and that gives us one wide gap to walk down the middle of this room, which is in line with the door in the middle of our storage system. We're going to put another depot in front of that one there, and in fact that doesn't want to go there, that actually wants to go up 1 block just there, and that one's going to have an andesite funnel facing inwards. That's going to take our finished thorium, put it in there, and that of course means that on these ones we're going to need a little bit of thorium, we're going to need a little bit of stone, and we're going to need a little bit of clay. And when I spin these round, all of that's going to come out, but we actually want to set these to 1 each at a time just to stop our system from overflowing. So let's spin those round, take them back in, and then spit them out again, and there we go. We've got 1 of each on each one of those. At this point here, we're actually just going to dig a little channel in the floor. I'm going to get rid of that dirt down there and just put some blocks in there to make it look like it fits. And then we need a little bit more water. So let's just make an infinite water source here. We're going to stick some andesite case in there with a basin on it, and that's automatically going to point towards that depot there. We're going to have a pipe going in the side of that and a pump underneath it facing upwards ideally, if I can place it correctly. There we go. That's going to pump the water out of there into the basin. We then need a mixer on top of there, a little bit of andesite casing on the top and a little bit more there, and that's because we're going to be using a mechanical arm to pick up from each of those and deposit in there, and we're going to just stick that there. On the side of that we're going to put a cog. We're going to put a cog there, and we're not going to forget to turn this onto forced round robin, and then we're going to stick a little bit of shaft between those 2 cogs there, so that pump and those 2 things together are all powered by the same shaft. And then all we're going to do to power this is just bring these cogs along here like that, stick another gearbox on there, and then just turn that into a vertical one, and that should all be powered. If I turn the power back on, we should start duplicating our thorium. Bearing in mind we started with 64, we should start seeing this number go up. And just to see this actually happening, the arm is picking up each of the ingredients. Because it's on forced round robin, it's never going to overfill this with 1 ingredient and not the others. It's only going to put the right ones in there. 1 thorium goes in, 2 comes out, and as you can see, we're already starting to increase that number. Let's just stick a recipe on there just in case. And there we go. We are now duplicating thorium, all from a cobblestone generator. But we're not finished yet. We need to turn that thorium into nuclear fuel. And we're going to do that by other means. In order to make the thorium radioactive, we need to crush it down, and that gives us a 10% chance of getting radioactive thorium. From that, we can then turn that into nuclear fuel, and that needs pressed iron sheets. Fortunately for us, when we crush down the thorium, it actually gives us a 70% chance of getting iron nuggets, which on average conveniently works out to just enough iron to make the iron sheets to make the nuclear fuel. So all we're going to need to do first of all is do exactly the same thing we've got going on over here with our crushing setup, although it's only just 1 layer in order to crush the thorium. But we've got to be careful. We can't duplicate our thorium if we don't have any to duplicate. So if we crush all of our thorium, it's all going to be gone, and then we're not going to be able to duplicate any more of it. So we need to make sure this system doesn't eat all of the thorium, and that's a relatively simple thing to do. We're going to start as usual with a belt across the bottom like that. We're going to make that look all fancy like that. We're going to stick 1 of those there, and then on the side of this belt here we're going to put another funnel facing downwards. We're going to dig a hole in the floor just here. We're going to put a simple storage interface just there, and we're going to put a little bit of trim there, and we also need to bring that trim up so that it touches the bottom of this trim up here. Then we can fill that little hole in there, stick a chute in there, and then we just need a little bit of thorium. So what we're going to do is have a funnel on here which is letting out 3 thorium at a time, and we're going to send 2 back into the system, so we've always got 2. So this will only let thorium out if we've got at least 3 of them, and every time 3 come out, 2 of them are going to go back into the system, so we've always got 2 available to be duplicated. Then what we can do is shove our shafts in there, put a couple of vertical gearboxes on either side just like we did on the other side of the room, put our crushing wheels on top, and then we just need to power this and make sure it's all going in the right direction, which I believe I just need a vertical gearbox on there, another one down there, and a bit of shaft in between, although that might be going backwards. We're about to find out. Let's turn the power on and see. Yep, that's running totally backwards, so that's no good for us at all. Let's get rid of those, and instead we're going to throw a little bit of chain drive just there and just bring that up against that, and now it should all be going the right way. It is. That's starting to get crushed, which is good. You can see we've already got some iron nuggets, so if we put ourselves an andesite funnel on there, now we are making radioactive thorium, which should start coming through into our system in a minute. We're already getting nuggets of XP through, which is nice. Come on, radioactive thorium, where are you? And there we go, we got one. Amazing. So now that we've got our little crushing system in and we're getting our radioactive thorium, we need to turn these iron nuggets into iron sheet. And in order to do that, first of all, they need to become iron ingots. So the next thing we're going to build is pretty much identical to everything else we've done so far. We're going to put all of our storage trim in. We're going to put a belt going across here like this. We're going to stick an andesite funnel on there. We're going to put a basin on there. We're going to put an andesite funnel on there. We're going to spin that basin around. We're going to put a brass funnel at this end just there, and we're going to set that for iron nuggets. Just like that. We want 9 at a time coming out because it takes 9 to make one ingot. We're going to set a filter on this basin for iron ingots, and we might as well set up a little space in here for iron ingots and one for iron sheets as well. Then we just need a press on top of that and to power it all. And yes, this little setup is identical to our clay one over here, so powering it should be pretty much the same thing, although I think we're going to have our chain drive down this side to make sure it's all going in the right direction. A little bit of chain drive there, a little bit more there, and then just a shaft there, and that should, hopefully, if I've done everything correctly, start producing us some iron ingots. There we go. Nice. So now all we need to do is turn that into iron sheet and turn that into nuclear fuel. So let's do the iron sheet first, which is going to be even more simple than that. And yes, it means doing this all over again. So let's grab some more of the storage trim, bring it across here, stick it there, put one of those on, fix the hole in the floor that I just made, put another bit of belt in between them. Stick a brass funnel on there and an andesite one on there. Remember to tidy up this belt that I didn't tidy up, and then do this one as well that I've just put down. Grab ourselves some iron ingots so that we can set a filter on this, and we only want one at a time coming out of there. Then all we need on here is a press. We're going to power it again with the chain drive there, and then this time we don't need more chain drive coming up to the top because this press is lower down, and I think that's that for that. So let's again turn the power on and see if we're getting iron sheet coming through. Apparently, oh, we don't have any ingots because I took them all out. Let's go put some more ingots in, and we might actually have some to process. But now I missed it. No, there we go. You almost saw one, but it worked. So all we've got to do now is turn our iron sheet and our radioactive thorium into nuclear fuel. How hard could it be? What could possibly go wrong? So the final piece to this puzzle is a relatively simple one, although mildly more complicated than this. But that's about it, and that's really not very complicated. So yet again, we're going to start with our trench with our trim stuff in it. Just like that. We're going to stick another one of those there, another belt coming across the middle, another brass funnel on there, another andesite funnel on there, and this time we're going to need a little bit of radioactive thorium, and we're going to need a little bit of iron sheet to set some filters. We also need on this one 2 presses and a deployer, so we're going to stick one press at the end there, and don't worry, that will go through the funnel. We're going to stick a deployer there, and we're going to stick another press there, and if we spin all of those round, we can get them all connected to each other through the bar. We're going to stick our iron sheet on there, we're going to put our thorium on there. Again, we only want one at a time coming through there, and then we need to stick a smart chute on top of there with the iron sheet filter on there, a storage interface on top of that, and then we need to link that to our other storage interface. So we're just going to bring that down and across here like that, and that should, there we go, link up to our storage system. Let's just give that a bunch of those to start with. Let's make the belt look a little bit neater, and then all we need is a little bit of chain drive down here to power the belt, and just one shaft there to power all of that, and that should be the last little bit of our refinement process complete, which is going to generate us nuclear fuel. But there's only one way to find out. Let's turn it on and see what happens. I've got all of the refined thorium on me, so I'm just going to chuck a bit on there for now, and there we go. We should have nuclear fuel now. Let's do a couple more. Wow, that's fast. So going over here then, let's find out. Yeah, we've got 3 nuclear fuel in our system. Every single one of our storage slots is full, which means we've done everything we need to do. So we're now generating more nuclear fuel than we could possibly know what to do with. But I think it's time that we had a rate test to find out exactly how well this is going to produce this stuff. And while that's going on, I'm just going to go and fill in a few of these gaps and make the whole area look a little bit nicer than it does. Hey you, I'm trying to do a rate test here. What are you doing? Turning up and jeez, get out of it, you smelly pillagers. Now, in order to do a successful rate test, we need arrows in our cheeks and one in our... No, we need to empty out this system so there isn't loads of stuff clogging it up so that we can make sure everything's running nice and smoothly. So let's take out all of the cobble, let's take that out, let's take all of that out, let's take out all the flint. Oh, and I need to put a void thing on the flint as well. I also need to put a void thing on the experience, and I should probably put capacity upgrades into the nuclear fuel so that we don't clog up the system. So I guess there's a couple of things I do need to do before we do a rate test. So let's just chuck our void upgrade on there and another one on there, and then we'll just stick 4 capacity upgrades into there, which means that this will then be able to hold 32,000 nuclear fuel. I think that'll be plenty. So now that everything is empty, what I need to do is start my timer at the same time as flicking this switch in 3, 2, 1, go. Now we just need to see how many we get over whatever period of time I need this running for, and then do the maths.
1 eternity later.
Well, it's been just about 30 minutes. I have 5 seconds left, so here we go. We're going to be flicking off the switch and finding out exactly what we got in 30 minutes, and we managed to get a whopping 50 nuclear fuel in 30 minutes. Let's do the maths. Okay, so in 30 minutes we got 50 nuclear fuel, which is 100 an hour, which is 6.7 per minute, which means we can have 6 times 6 nuclear core reactor thingies that we looked at earlier. These things, and this one in particular, because this has 6 reactor rods and requires 1 nuclear fuel every 4 minutes. And this one in particular because if you've got 6 reactor rods, you can generate a maximum power steam engine. So with the rate that we're producing all of that nuclear fuel, we can actually have 6 full-powered steam engines running off nuclear power, which is the equivalent of about 1.8 million stress units, which is going to be more than we need. So yeah, we don't need to use all of the nuclear fuel we're generating, but we are going to have more than one of these things powering more than one of these things. And back on the real world, I'm thinking we're going to have 2 of those big maximum powered steam boilers in each of our steam columns, generated by 4 of the nuclear cores inside of our main building. I think that will be more power than I could ever possibly know what to do with. And you might be thinking from the numbers of things that we generated that my maths isn't exactly right. Well, it is in terms of how much nuclear fuel we're getting, but in terms of the efficiency of this farm, you can see we're generating a whole bunch of stone and clay, and more stone than we are getting clay, which means I could turn my stone production down to even those out, but it doesn't really matter because we're producing more of those than we're using, turning it into thorium, which means actually the bottleneck of the system is our thorium duplicating system. If we were to double this up, we could effectively get even more nuclear fuel out in 1 hour, or 30 minutes, which was the duration of that test, but we really don't need to. We're going to have more than enough, and we should be able to get enough of a backlog that I can put some sort of sensor on here and controller that if we've got more than we need, it'll just shut off this processing plant, which will mean a whole less lag for the server, because these cobblestone generators and all of this sort of stuff all adds up in terms of lag and cost and computing power. Last time I built this factory that creates nuclear fuel from a thorium process refinery type thing, and basically it works very, very well. As you can see, it's not running at the moment because I don't need it running right now because we don't have a nuclear power station to power just yet. But as a lot of you pointing out in the comments, this thing's not 100% efficient. And to be honest with you, nothing I ever build is, but that doesn't matter. The main complaint is that we're not creating enough iron to actually use all of our radioactive thorium to make our nuclear fuel, which is absolutely right. We're also generating way too much clay and way too much stone to actually run through the system to generate enough thorium in the first place, but none of that matters because this plant produces enough nuclear fuel to power a nuclear power station bigger than I'm going to possibly need. And speaking of nuclear power stations, we don't really have a nuclear power station just yet. And that means that if I'm planning on actually building reactors and cores and all that sort of stuff today, I really should have somewhere to put it. To give you a quick recap and overview of the plan, those 2 circles are going to be large cooling towers, and inside each one of those there are going to be 2 max power steam generators, which is going to give us combined nearly 1 million SU. So yeah, that's fine. Inside of this one is going to be where the core is, and we're going to have 4 6-core reactors, if that makes sense. But I don't want to build the buildings until I know how big the stuff is going to be that goes inside it, and I do have plans for the buildings. We need to get the stuff sorted first, and that's going to be a little bit of a journey. All of the stuff we're building is coming from Create New Age, which is the add-on that gives you nuclear power in your worlds. And we're going to need reactor rods, which means mechanical crafting. We're going to need reactor glass. We're going to need reactor casing, which means energizing. So that means we're going to need energizers, which means we need overcharged diamonds, which means we need energizers to create them. So we're going to have to go through a range of different energizers in order to get the things we need. We're also going to need reactor fuel inserters, reactor heat vents, boiler heaters, and an absolute ton of heat pipe, which needs a whole bunch of terracotta. And that's one thing that I'm not producing at all. But we don't need a big old terracotta factory because we're only going to be building this stuff once, so it doesn't really make sense to automate that process for the future. So I think we'll just gather a little bit of terracotta and then just use that, I guess. And in order to gather terracotta, there's a couple of things we could do. We could blast clay, and clay we can get quite easily from making clay balls, which is just literally crushing down gravel, which is just crushing down cobble, and we've got most of those processes set up already. Or we could use my beacon with a little bit of glue, just like we did in the last episode, and a little bit of rail and a little bit of a cart assembler put onto lock rotation, and a little bit of a mine cart and a couple of these, I've only got one, there's another one, and a couple of bits of andesite casing. We can turn our beacon into a contraption, which means we can then just pick it up and put it in our pockets and take it wherever we like. So I'm gonna need a mesa. It doesn't look like there's a mesa around here anywhere. So I guess we're going on an adventure, which means I need something else as well, which I don't appear to have on me anywhere. So I guess I must have left it at home. A home? You don't have a home? Shut up. I do. I've got a home. Is it in here? No. Is it in there? No. Okay, fine. It's probably kicking about in my mine shaft area somewhere, and if you're not sure what I'm referring to my little portable aircraft. My Gyrodyne, to be exact. And it was... oh dear. What happened to you? Flying supply carts are not quite what I'm after, but... Oh, now I've become attached to that. How do I... oh, jeez. What button is it? There we go. Jeez. Stop it. Stop sticking to me when I'm walking past. I don't want you. Go away. Right. Where's my helicopter? It appears it has vanished, which can only mean one thing, and that means I've shoved it in a chest somewhere out of the way. And there's a lot of chests down here, so I could be a minute just finding it. No. Huh, is it in my backpack after all? Got my hand car, that's not what I need. Well, I thought if I fly up a bit, I might see it on one of the roofs of these buildings, but all I've found so far is donkeys. Oh, and apparently that supply cart's no longer flying, but I could have sworn I left it just sort of kicking around here somewhere. But I guess not, so I guess we'll just use the jetpack and fly. But where are we flying to? Let's zoom out of the map a little bit, and as you can see, I haven't uncovered any mesa. However, in my planning for this world, I did have a look at the much larger version of this map. And in my planning world, my little mining town is here. The power station we're going to be building is just across here, just there, and if I zoom right out, you can see that this map is a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but right up here, not too far away from where we are, is a big old mesa. So I guess that's where we're heading, which should be in this direction. So I guess we've got a little bit of flying to do. Gonna do a montage? Well, it's a bit boring, isn't it? Go on, do a montage. Do the quickest montage in the world then, mate. Jeez, I ain't got all the time in the world just to be editing montages, you know. Hello, village with all of the bees and butterflies. Nice to meet you. Just going past. made it! Hurrah! Just in time for bed. Okay, beacon time. We'll just chuck that down there and pop that on there and chuck that in there, and then I think that's it. Yeah, job done. Right, beacon time. You gonna do a montage? No, shut up about G. No, I'm just gonna gather a load and then I'll meet you back at the house. You're not gonna do a montage in the way back. No, shut up. Don't even need all that much, mate. Just a handful, really. You should get loads. I don't need loads. You should get different. Oh, shut up. And there we go, I got a whole bunch. So it's time to go home. You left one float? No, I didn't. You did? No. So now that we're back, it's time to start getting into production. And we're going to be using this little temporary workshop area I've got between these two buildings because we're going to need to build a few things that we will need later on anyway in order to get us started. The first things we're going to need are these basic energizers. And in order to run these, they need electricity. And of course, we're not producing any electricity just yet because that's what this power station is going to be for. So we're going to have to do some temporary electricity, which means going into our power station and basically creating a system that's going to turn this rotational energy into electrical energy. And we can do that pretty much straight through the... I don't really want to go through... We've got a power line going underground. We'll use that one. Jeez. If I dig down around about here-ish somewhere, one of these bits, there's power somewhere along here. I know there is. There it is. I found it. So all we need to do for now is disconnect this power line, which goes over to our thorium refinery, and just stick a bit of chain drive in there, and we're going to be building off this. And I suppose it would make sense to add in a speed controller on here so that we can run this thing at full speed. And now we need some electrical generators. The way we build electrical generators is not with girders and shafts, although they will come in useful, but we need these things. We need generator coils surrounded by magnetite, and then carbon brushes at the front, and then we can put wires on that, and then connect that to motors. Although we don't need to connect to motors because we're powering energizers. So carbon brushes are just andesite alloy, coal, and shafts, so I can easily make one of those. Generator coils are just copper and blocks of andesite alloy, and I've got loads of materials, so that's not going to be a problem. Let's just throw one of those in the crafting table quickly. And then magnetite. I've got 147 of it. However, there's a whole range of different magnets that we can use for the electrical generator that basically just improve the efficiency, with the netherite magnet being way better. Now we can actually craft all of the different variations of magnets, each one being slightly more powerful than the last, except for the raw magnetite, which you have to get from the ground. And that's the one we're going to be using for now because this is just a temporary setup. And I believe the best way of doing this is to basically have two layers of it, and you just want to build it round in a bit of a circle, just like that. And with some temporary blocks up the back like that, we can stick on our generator coils and then our carbon bushes, and then all we got to do is connect those to this power, which would be much better if that was facing in the other direction. In fact, if I build that up a couple more blocks and then stick our speed controller on at that point there, we can run that directly into those, just like that. Turn that on full whack. And now we should be generating, there we go, 3.6 KE of energy. Now we're going to need some wires. And the cheapest type of wire is just copper wire on a mechanical saw. And then we can move into things like overcharged iron sheet wire, and overcharged golden wire, and maybe even overcharged diamond wire. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. So let's make a temporary wire making machine. I'm going to start with the mechanical saw. I'm just going to chuck that down there. And in fact, that would be better if it was facing that way round, because then I can just stick a little bit of shaft to that, and now that's going. I'm not sure which way round that's going yet. It is going that way. So I just want to stick an item drain on there, a barrel there, a new shiny gold barrel at that end, a funnel there facing inwards, a funnel there facing outwards. And now if I put some copper sheet in there, that should start getting turned into wire, which is going to go in there. So now that we've got a bunch of copper wire, it's time to make our first basic energizer, which means I need a copper rod, and then I can just craft one of those. And these need both electrical and rotational power. And there's a really easy way of doing this. We could use these electrical connectors, which I've just crafted up using this recipe. And what I would do, for instance, is stick one of those on there, and then one of those on our charger, and then link those up with wires. And that would give that all of the energy that it needs. However, I'm a little bit lazy. So the easier way of doing this is to get rid of all of the wires and just stick that straight on the end of there, which just happens to have electrical and rotational energy. Then all we need to do is stick a depot under there, and when I put iron sheet on there, that's going to get energized, and then we can start using those in our recipes. However, for the recipes that I need, we need a more automated setup than this. See, one of the first things we need to be making is reactor casing, and in order to do that, we need an energizer, a deployer, and a press all set up in a line, and then we put bricks through it. So I guess let's just set up a little temporary system over here. I'm going to stick a barrel there with a funnel coming out of that. Over at this end, we're going to have another barrel with a funnel going in, and then we just want our energizer, our deployer, and our press. And now, because our energizer is no longer attached to our carbon brushes, we're going to have to put some electricity onto this. So let's just stick one of those on there and one of those on there, connect those together with a little bit of wire, and if we spin all of these round like that, we can then just stick a gearbox on there with a little bit of shaft just there, and if I put that chain drive there and there, that's our top section's powered. However, our belt isn't powered, so what I'm going to do is come around here, break that shaft, get a little bit more of this chain drive and put it there, and hopefully I think it is spinning in the right direction. Our deployer needs iron sheet, so what I'm going to do is stick a chute there and a barrel on top, grab a bunch of iron sheet from here, stick that into the barrel up there, and then we just need bricks in here, and I've got a few bricks, so let's go and craft all these into brick blocks, and we've got nearly 2 stacks worth. However, in here, we've got an absolute ton of clay that we can use to make even more bricks. Now, I don't know if there's an easy way to break these down into clay balls. Yes, there is. I can just put that clay through a milling machine and get out the clay balls. Now we can make a bunch more bricks and then go and stick a whole bunch of these bricks into this barrel here and see what happens. There goes the stacks worth, and wow, that's fast. And it didn't look like it was what I wanted, but it is absolutely 100% what I wanted. Oh, you get 4 per one set of bricks. That's good. It's cheap. And now we got 8 stacks of reactor casing. Let's just store a bunch of that in there, but I'm actually going to need 4 stacks now to turn that all into reactor glass, which is just adding that to glass. You get 6 back for every, well, 9 pieces, but 4 reactor casing. And now we've got a whole bunch of stuff for our reactors. But we're not done yet. Before we get carried away with mechanical crafting, however, we're going to stick to the easy stuff. And something particularly easy is the heat pipe, which we're going to need a whole bunch of. Heat pipe is essential for nuclear reactors because it takes the heat from the core and distributes it. And we're going to be distributing it into these boiler heaters, which are basically blaze burners without blazes in. And that's what's going to be powering our steam boilers. But in order to get the heat from here over to the cooling towers to 4 max size steam engines, we're going to need a lot of heat pipe. I'd say we're probably going to need around about 5 or 6 stacks worth. So let's see how easy this stuff is to make. First of all, we're going to need a buttload of zinc, which we can turn into nuggets. We've got some copper sheet, and then we just need that terracotta that we got earlier. And how many heat pipes can I build from that? Quite a lot. I want more. Okay, 852. Pretty sure that'll be plenty. Next, we might as well make these boiler heaters, which means we need some overcharged iron, empty blaze burners, iron nuggets, and just that heat pipe stuff. And I'm hoping now that this has run out of everything else, if I just chuck a stack of iron ingots in there, yep, they're just going to get energized. I'm probably going to need to remove this deployer, and they're just going to go through there into that barrel. Excellent. And we're going to need 6 of these per boiler, which means we need 24 in total. So I need to now make 24 blaze burners. So now with all of these ingredients, I can now make whole 24 boiler heaters, and I'm going to store everything in this gold backpack that I'm going to need for these reactors. Speaking of reactors, we now need fuel inserters and reactor heat vents, which means I need a bunch more of this stuff, a bunch more heat pipe, and a bunch of funnels. Now we only need 4 fuel inserters, so that's going to be nice and easy to make, and we only need 4 reactor vents, so that's easy to make. And I believe other than our actual reactor cores, that's all we need to actually make for now. So it's time to get out some mechanical crafters and start building some reactor cores. I'm pretty sure these are 3x4, or maybe they're 3x5. No, they're 5x3. What? Okay, fine. Let's get all of these pointing into each other. And for these, we need a few different ingredients, but nothing major. We need some more of this reactor casing, some gold sheet, some reactor glass, and some nuclear fuel. And again, we only need 24 of these in total, because we're going to be having 6 cores in each reactor, and we're having 4 reactors. So let's grab a bunch of those, a bunch of gold sheet, a bunch of our reactor glass, and a bunch of our reactor casing. And let's go and build some of these things. In order to make life nice and easy for myself, I'm actually going to link a whole bunch bunch of this stuff together, and that way when I click on there with one, it's going to put 2 in. It's going to do the same thing for the reactor glass on there and the reactor glass on there. It should do the same thing for the gold sheet at the top and the bottom. Then all we need to do is add those on there, add a little bit of power, and that should give us 2 reactor cores. Rods. I nearly know all the words. Stick a bit of cog on there, a bit more there, and a bit more there, and here we go. Let's see if it works. It did. I've just got to do this a bunch more times. And there we go. We've now got 24 reactor rods. I believe we've got everything we need to go nuclear. Nuclear. There's no such word as nuclear. It's nuclear. Nuclear. Nuclear.
Nuclear. Nuclear. Nuclear. Nuclear.
Now, unfortunately, the Create New Age mod does not give you any sort of hazmat suit or protection for building your nuclear reactors, so we're going to have to be careful. And that means probably going into a test world to test these things out and look at all of the potential hazards before we build it here. What we're going to be building is something a little bit like this, and 4 of them. There are 6 reactor rods in the middle, a fuel inserter at one end, and a heat exchanger at the other, which then goes into heat pipe, which then goes into the boiler heaters, which then heats up a max-size boiler, generating nearly 300,000 SU. So 4 of those, yes, over 1 million SU. I said nearly 1 million SU. We're going to have over 1 million SU. Anyway, let's not get distracted. Let's go and find out all of the things that could go wrong. Away from all of that stuff, just in case. We're going to start by building a basic nuclear reactor, which basically involves making a base, put in some reactor rods down the middle, and we're going to be having 6 in each of ours, stick in a fuel inserter at one end and a reactor heat vent at the other, and then the reactor heat vent wants to come out to some heat pipe, which then goes into something to take the heat away from the nuclear reactor. Now, at the moment for this one, I have not put on any of our reactor glass, and that's to show you how deadly this stuff can be if you haven't completely sealed it. So I suppose first things first, we should stick in a bit of nuclear fuel on there and a funnel on there so it can actually go in. That's going to light the reactor, and nothing's happening to me because I'm in creative. However, as soon as I go into survival mode, I get wither, poison, mining fatigue, and nausea too. And I get a lovely green glow around my screen, which means if you haven't built your reactor correctly or something goes bang near it and breaks some of the glass, then you're going to have a difficult time trying to get to it to fix it. So it's kind of important that we put this reactor glass on, or at least have a structure around this which is completely sealed to prevent the radiation from getting out. Now that's all sealed up, if I go back into survival mode, you'll see I'm perfectly fine. There are no issues here at all. But that's not the only problem you can have with your nuclear reactor. If, for whatever reason, you weren't taking the heat out of there effectively and the whole thing heats up, well, I suppose it could explode, but you're more likely to have a nuclear meltdown. And a nuclear meltdown's not the best fun. What happens during a nuclear meltdown, which should happen in a couple of minutes after this thing's been running with no heat being taken away from it, is that your reactor rods will turn into thorium, which seems absolutely fine on its own. Some of it might even turn into solid thorium, which also seems absolutely fine on its own, until you realise that these things can be pretty radioactive themselves once they activate. And yes, it is a meltdown, which means that these things in a second will actually melt into the floor and then disappear into the... yeah, they basically just go down into your world, which hopefully we'll see in a second. There we go. The reaction has started. That one has fallen into the floor. It has basically eaten the block it was on, and when that happens to your core, it will eat through this reactor casing and any fancy stuff you've got underneath it. The solid thorium, however, doesn't seem to go through the floor. That seems to be relatively okay, but there we go. We got our meltdown actually happening in our reactor, and if I just stand here for a second and do a very, very quick time lapse, well, I don't even need to do one. You can see it's already melting through the floor, which is not ideal, because then you've got to get to this thing, smash it all to bits to get in there to put your core back in and put it all back in place, and that could be difficult because now the end's turned to lava because it's melted and it's all incredibly radioactive. So there are a few different problems that can happen with this, which is why it's very important to keep the heat away from that reactor core as much as possible. And there are several ways of doing that. Having a single heat vent for all 6 rods does work, providing you can get that heat out of there quick enough. As you can see, 1 boiler heater is enough just about to keep on top of that thing. You can also use a heat pump to really pull the heat away from the heat pipe by sticking that there like that, and then that's That's going to pump the heat even faster away from your heat pipe, keeping this whole thing a little bit cooler, but as you can see, it's still ticking up to the 10k mark, which might seem a little bit dangerous, but back over here, these things have been running for absolutely ages with a single reactor vent, and I haven't had any meltdowns or issues at all. But this is a test world and not my main world, and I want my main world to be very safe, which means that we're going to be adding more than one of these to each of these cores. And there's a few ways we could do that. We could put them directly above the reactor rods like that, and then join all of those together with heat pipe and have those coming off somewhere and then going into our boiler heaters. That's going to keep everything nice and cool. All of these are nice and cool, and all of these little heat vents are nice and cool. And that will work absolutely fine. But it looks a bit gross, and considering our boilers are going to be absolutely miles away from this thing, it means we're going to have this heat pipe squirreling around and going all over the place visually, which I don't like. So I'd rather dance on the edge of danger and potentially risk a whole bunch of materials. I'm going to be having mine directly underneath, where if there was a meltdown, it will melt through those and destroy it all. Then I'm going to need to have my heat pipe probably underneath those things as well, so that it's out of the way, and then I can put that back there, and if I'm right, this should still be safe. Hopping back into survival mode, I seem to be okay. Everything in there is all right. And then what that means is we can bring a bit of heat pipe out. We're probably going to want 2 lanes of this stuff just to be on the safe side. And then we can take those all the way over to our boiler heaters wherever they're going to be. And don't forget, we're going to be powering 6 of these for each of our boilers, which means each of those is going to be running at the 500T, which is what we want. And everything's going to be happy. Look how cool it all is. Another potential issue that we could run into here is if we have our heat pipe coming out and there isn't enough heat pipe, so it's overheating, and this is definitely easier to demonstrate with a heat pump. If I put that heat pump there and that sucks all of the heat through, you can see it just turned my heat pipe into lava, which then burns all of my heat pipe away. So we need to make sure that we're pretty careful getting the heat out of this thing so that we don't get a meltdown or just turn all of our components into lava. But I think I got this right. There's only one way to find out, and that is to actually start building this thing. But I'm not ready yet. I need the cooling towers in, I need my steam boilers, I need everything else. So I guess it's probably time for one of those montagey things where I build at least some of this. I don't expect to get the whole thing done in this video, certainly not the whole power station, but maybe I'll get the cooling towers and at least the steam engines in, and then we can build our first reactor, and then I guess decorate around that as I start building up this main building. Let's do this. And there we go. After quite a few hours in creative and with the schematic cannon, we now have what is starting to look very much like a power station. We've got the 2 big old steam cooling towers at the back there, and this big old building here which is going to have our nuclear reactors in it. And of course we've got our original buildings. We've even started to get a little bit of floor coming in here, although we're going to have roads and stuff going around here so that we might potentially have some little vehicles running around, moving items around. Underneath these cooling towers we've got the supports, and inside of here we're going to have our big old boilers, which is what I'm going to be building next. But before I can get on to building big old boilers, I actually need to go inside of the nuclear power station building and get rid of a few of these mobs. I guess I didn't think too much about lighting when I was building this in creative, so let's just, for now, just throw a few torches around just to make sure this area is not too dark, and let's try and keep away from the creepers because we don't want all of those going bang and undoing all of the hard work that I've done. So, flying away a little bit to try and get all of the things inside there to despawn, I'm going to show you what's going on the inside, and the roof itself is actually made from some of those crazy blocks we found in the end, and I kind of like that, as it looks a little bit like it's radioactive already. And on the inside I haven't done all that much at all. We've got these big old hallways that come through here, which need rooms and things going on in these. We've got some... Stop it! You should have despawned, go away. I didn't put torches this side. On the side of the building, we've got this little alcove here, which is directly across from our nuclear fuel processing factory, which means it's going to be nice and easy to transport the fuel into the nuclear reactor through here, which will probably end up being some sort of little storage system. But we're going to need a whole bunch of walls and rooms and stuff on the inside of here, and in the main chamber where our cores are going to be, I've basically added a whole bunch of steel girders and industrial iron blocks just to make it look a little bit more industrial and a little bit more interesting. But I've got some more plans for this area, which means I'm going to have to do a whole bunch of work on this floor. So before we get on to any of that, let's go and build 4 max power steam boiler thingy bobbies. A little bit like what we've got on in here, but much bigger. These are going to be going under here. Oh, 2 of them in there and 2 of them in the one over there. And I'm tempted to put different layers in here, like floors and things, but I don't really know what I'm going to do with it, so I'm just going to leave these open for now, and then we can worry about that later on. Before I do anything, I actually need to mark the centers of these things out so that I know where I'm actually going to be building these things, because of course I want it all to be symmetrical, and I'm going to do that with this industrial iron block just because it's easy to place and it's very easy to pick up. So now that we've got the middle marked out and I've got my backpack full of handy things on there, I'm now going to place down these boiler heaters, and we're going to have 6 per boiler. So we're going to have 6 there, and then I'm going to have another 6 over on this side here, just like this. And then on each of these, we're going to build up a full-size one of the big steamy boiler tank things. On the front of those, coming towards the center, we're going to have all of our actual steam engines, and these need 12 on each one. And now all of those are in, we can just connect these together with some shafts, which I'm going to have facing downwards, a little bit like this. And now that we've got those pretty much all the way down to the floor, what I want to do is connect these with some chain drive coming across like this. And then on the other side, exactly the same thing. And the reason I'm doing it like this is because I want it to all be able to join together, including the ones that we're going to have over that side, combining all of our SU together into one big SU machine. So for now, while we don't have a great deal else going on, we'll just stick those there like that. We'll put a little stressometer there, and these things are going to need water as well. And seeing as we've got so much room on this side of the room, I think we're going to have our water system here. So each one of these is going to have 3 pumps going in, even though that's way more than it needs, and a bunch of pipes connecting those together, and a bunch of pipes connecting those together. Then we'll bring the pipe down to the floor. Then we need to think about how we're going to make this look a little bit more interesting. I mean, I suppose we could just dig a hole in the floor and have an infinite water source under each one. That will work, but it's not very interesting, but I suppose that's probably as interesting as it needs to be for now. The pumps are going to need connecting to power, so let's just throw a cog in underneath that one there. We're going to do the same thing underneath this one here. And yes, I could just use one pump at the bottom and pump all 3 pipes into there, but I just want this to look more interesting and industrial and powery and stuff. Powery and stuff? Yeah, powery and stuff. Now let's just box those in so they're a little bit more hidden, and then we'll consider how we're going to get power into those in a moment, probably driven from our temporary power station, which is over here, which is not exactly temporary, because we are going to be using this power to generate the nuclear fuel and I guess to drive the water going into the steam engines. So that means I've probably got a little bit of digging underground to do to connect all of these things together. I'm going to have to do that anyway to get the heat pipes in, because don't forget, these little heat things under here are all going to have to be connected via heat pipes over to the nuclear reactor. I suppose I should maybe do that next. But before I do that next, the next thing I'm going to do is actually rebuild this exactly the same again, but over there. And now that that's all in place, it's time to do that digging. So I've already started to dig a hole under here. I'm going to have to bring the power from the water pumps all the way over to our power station through there, and I'm going to have to do the same on those ones, and I also need to dig holes for the heat pipes over into there. So I've got a whole bunch of digging to do. And at this point, not too far away from that, it occurs to me that I don't have my beacon on me, and it would be useful to have that placed at the moment because this digging is annoying. So let's hope I don't destroy anything by putting that down there and that on there. No, that's absolutely fine. In fact, that's floating a bit, but it'll do. So now if I stick that on there, that's not going to go anywhere, and now I should be able to dig nice and quickly. Ah, that's better. Just a couple of minutes later, I now have the water systems fully in place. Everything is fully powered, all thanks to this little underground network of tunnels, which just consists of gearboxes and shafts running down to a speed controller over here, which just runs straight into our power station. And yes, there's holes all over the place, but this is all going to be covered by roadways, so it doesn't matter. Now, I think this is actually bringing too much water into these boilers, but we won't know until we're actually generating the heat from our nuclear power, so I suppose we should probably run the heat pipes over there so that's ready, and to do that, I'm just going to come back underneath here. Then all I need to do is connect my heat pipe to the underside of those, bring that down a little bit, and I'm going to bring these across all the way pretty much to in between both of the power cooling tower thingies, around about this point here, and then we can go into the back of that there. So now we've got everything to roughly at the middle. We can actually pick the very middle of our power station, dig down a couple of blocks from here, dig through onto the inside of this, which should hopefully be the center. There we go. And for now, I'm just going to link up one row of heat pipe all the way to the center of the power station in the hopes that because this heat pipe is so long and that it stretches so far, we won't have issues with it overheating at that end, causing problems elsewhere. The only thing I'm slightly concerned about is that because we've got so much heat pipe stretching all the way from all the way over there to all the way over here, that there won't be enough heat left in it at this point to actually fully heat the boiler heaters. And if that's the case, we will have a problem because we won't be able to run these at full capacity. But we might be able to get around that using heat pumps. We'll just have to see how we get on. And there's only one way to find out how we're going to get on, and that is to build a nuclear reactor. I think it's time to do it, so let's go inside. Oh my god, how are you? Oh, did I not put enough torches in? Jeez. So before I build these nuclear reactors, I am going to dig out the floor. You see how I want this laid out is I want a walkway around the outside, and then I want it to drop down with the nuclear reactors in the center in some sort of interesting looking design. Not that I've got any ideas for how that's going to work. And then underneath all of that, I want some water, and then I want tunnels going out to the river around this island in each of the different directions. Not that this is how it works in game, but just in case, in make-believe that there is a meltdown, it can melt down into the water, and then all of that lovely nuclear waste can get flushed out into the river and kill all of the lovely wildlife. That's how I want it, that's how it's going to be, so that's what I'm going to do. However, today all I'm interested in is actually getting these nuclear reactors in so that we can make sure this is going to work. So this is going to be a draft version of it. And there we go, we now have a hole in the floor. I've made an attempt to decorate it, although it's probably not going to be the final design we go with because, like I say, I would like to have water under the floor, and at the moment we've just got a solid floor. But I'm sick of doing decorating and digging and all that sort of stuff. I want to go nuclear! So it's about time I build our nuclear reactors. I've got my heat pipe in place. The first thing I'm going to do on each one of these is put in a whole bunch of these facing the wrong way, apparently. There we go. No. I want it to face up. I guess I'm going to need some temporary blocks. What I've got to bear in mind in here is that I actually need room for fuel inserters, which I think I'm going to have in the middle, powered by a mechanical arm rather than the belt putting them in. So I need a little bit of room there to jiggery-pokery stuff. So hopefully, if I can get all of these facing the right way, we just need 6 of those on each of these. And that should mean that everything is nice and symmetrical. We've got a nice 4-lane, 4-core thing going on here. So let's start laying down some reactor casing. And I guess it would make sense to make the whole floor out of this stuff and just have it all level, but we'll see how we get on. There we go. We've got all of the reactor casing in place. And at each end of this, I'm going to have another block sticking up, which is what our core's going to run into. And then I'm going to do the rest of it in glass, just so that we can see what's going on inside of each one of the things. And then before I put the roof on, I'm going to have to put the cores down the middle. And I realise I keep referring to these as reactor cores rather than reactor rods. I don't know why, it's just what's in my head. Now that all of those are in, I can put the glass on the top of each one of these. And there's probably more fancy layouts that I could go with and make this really interesting looking, but I just want to get this going and make sure it's going to work for now and not just melt down everything because I've only got one set of heat pipe going out there. Now at this end we need our fuel insert on each of these, and then I can put a little bit more glass around the end of each one of those just like that, and that should be everything I need, I think, other than power to actually power the stuff that's going to be putting the fuel into the reactor thingies. I'm really nervous about the fact that I've only got one thing of heat pipe coming out of here. I think it's going to be better if we triple that up, at least at this point here, and I think it'll look better going up that wall as well. Let's just smash that and smash that, put a little bit more of that there and a little bit more of that there. And then I'm just going to put some limestone behind there just to finish that wall off at that point so it doesn't look too weird. And now I want my mechanical arm probably sat above these things at around about that point there so that it can access each one of these things. And I don't know if I can tell it to insert into those. No, I can't. So what we're going to need on each of these is a depot and then a funnel going in. And then what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more of this reactor casing at the bottom here to finish that off. And then what I can do is just click on each of the depots to tell it to put the items onto those. I'm going to put that up there, but it needs somewhere to take the items from as well. And I haven't really thought about where we're going to be storing the nuclear fuel. I think it would be kind of cool to have it actually come up on that block there. So if I get rid of that and get rid of this heat pipe here and then just put a depot there, I could probably get it to pump up onto that depot, but that's something I need to test. So let's just throw a motor down with a fan on top. We'll put a few pieces of chute on top of that and a depot there. Then all I'm going to do at this point is throw a depot there and throw a funnel on there, ideally facing inwards. And I want to make sure the fans are blowing in the right direction, which they are. Let's just speed those up a little bit and make sure they still are. Now, if I put a encased fan on there, is that going to come up? Yes, it does, and it sits on the depot. Oh, that's good. That means back on the real world, we can have our mechanical arm take from there and deposit onto all of those. And as long as we've got 4 at a time going onto there, which I think we can do, then we shouldn't have a problem. And then this mechanical arm can sit there and then do all of the stuff it needs to. I'm stuck. It's not ideal. Okay, let's move that. Let's maybe just make that a block higher up. And let's do that again. There. Now I'm not going to get stuck. We do need to power this. I'm hoping I could power it from the bottom so we've got a shaft going straight up, but it doesn't look like it. So I need to come up with some symmetrical design to get power to that. But before we do that, we actually need to get the items coming up onto this depot. So let's just dig a little bit of a hole in this nice floor that I've laid down here. Let's make a hole down here and we'll just have that for now. Come across to the side and then we'll have a little system that can take it from above and drop it down below. And that can just literally be from this point here for now. So let's put some chutes going up to that depot in the middle. We'll stick an encased fan pointing upwards at that point there. We're going to need some belts coming all the way from this side to this side over here. And at this point, just for now, we'll just have a whole bunch more chute just going onto that belt that we can throw items in, I guess. We are going to need power down here to power all of this, though, so I suppose I should probably sort that out next. And if I just carry on digging out in this direction, I should get underneath our little processing plant. Oh, and it appears I'm a lot further down than I thought I was. Ah, there we go, power. Let's just break that. Stick a bit of chain drive on there. Bring that all the way down. Let's run some shaft along here. And this doesn't need to go particularly quickly. Now we'll stick a gearbox on there. And yes, the belt's going in the right direction. That's a good sign. We need an andesite funnel there. We need another one here. And then we just need to make this fan blow in the right direction. Chain drive, vertical gearbox. Yes, there we go. It's not blowing ever so quickly, but it should work. So if I throw a chute onto that there, that should go up those chutes and end up at the top. It did! So if I stick a depot on the top of those chutes and then put 4 pieces of industrial iron on there, that goes straight down. That should hopefully then all come across and pop up here. Any minute now. There it is. So now that's all working. We just need power to our mechanical arm, which I'm just going to do with a series of cogs and gearboxes and all that sort of good stuff. And there we go. We now have a power system in place. I've routed the power up through those girders across the top with some brackets on that goes through the wall, and I've just got some temporary power coming in from down there, linking up with the same line that's actually driving the belt at the bottom of there. So it's moment of truth time. Do I dare put nuclear fuel in this thing? And is the mechanical arm going to actually do what I want it to do? Let's find out with a fake item that's not nuclear fuel. And what better to use than this umbrella tree membrane that we got from the end that's in the ceiling. Let's stick a bunch of that on there and see what happens. If I come down here, that's going to start going across. And if we come up here, that should hopefully end up on that depot. And this arm should pick it up and distribute it to all of the different ones. There we go, it's put it on that one. And then it's put it on that one, yes! And that's actually put 15 at a time on there. We only want it to do 1 at a time. So, the easiest way to solve that problem is to get rid of that andesite funnel there, stick a brass funnel on instead, make sure that's set to exactly 1, and that will only allow 1 at once to go through there. And we should probably actually filter this for nuclear fuel, but I want to do a test again first before I do that. Let's put 16 back on there. Once those have all come through here, yeah, we can go back. Hey, hang on a minute. There was more than 1 at once went through there then. That's not ideal. 1. And then 15. Why is there 15? But it says 1. Fine. Plan B then. I'm going to put that funnel back on there. Put a barrel over here. Stick another funnel on there. Stick another brass funnel on there and set that to 1 at a time. And let's see if we only get 1 at a time going through it now. So 16 on there. And then, yes, 1 at a time come through. And our mechanical arm is distributing them evenly. Yes, it is. The system works. Okay, it's actually time to try this thing with some nuclear fuel. I'm going to take 4 of my nuclear fuel. I'm going to put them on this depot and we're going to see what happens and if we get an explosion or a meltdown. There we go. That is active. That one is active. That one is now active, and the last one is now active. How are we doing for heat coming through this heat pipe? I should probably put my goggles on so that I can actually tell. There we go. Okay, heat pipe. This all looks absolutely fine. In fact, it's pretty cold going out to that point there. How about our the things underneath? How are these getting? I can't get to them to find out, but we're going to assume everything's okay. That's getting a little bit warm in the middle there. That's at 7.4. So yeah, they're getting hotter. Okay, so we're definitely going to need more heat pipe underneath each of those. That's absolutely fine. Let's grab some more of this stuff. Let's run a whole bunch more of this down underneath there. And we're going to layer each one of these up so it's got 3 lots of heat pipe running from each one of these reactors. And hopefully they won't get too hot. But what I want to make sure of now is that we're actually getting a decent amount of heat over to our steam engines. But I've got a feeling we're not going to get hardly any heat over there. But we'll find out. Are my steam engines running? And the answer is no. No, we've got no heat here at all. How far does my heat go? Starting to heat up over here. Okay, the heat's coming. It gets to there. It's slowly but surely getting warmer. Very, very slowly getting warmer. But I guess once it's running and it's hot enough, it should work. But I am very concerned that this one line of heat pipe is not going to do what we need. It's only at 400 here, so that's not too bad. But how's it doing on the inside? Down at this point, all the way down here, it is at 7.4. It's at 8 here. I think we need more heat pipe bringing it all the way back. Okay, we now have 3 lots of heat pipe going all the way back there. Keeping all of this relatively cool at this end. Let's see how hot we'll get. Oh, geez, they're getting a bit warm. 9.9. 10 in, oh, geez. I might need some heat pumps. Yeah, we need to get the heat away from this a lot faster. But how are my steam engines doing? Are we getting anything at all over here? It is. It's warming up. I mean, it's nowhere near warm enough to actually warm those up yet, which means they're not getting anything. But I definitely think I need heat pumps, which are thorium and heat pipes. Oh, it moved for a second. They're in the back. It's starting. It's starting to go. It's coming. But are we having any meltdowns yet or problems in here? I probably need to keep putting fuel in. Yeah, these have run out of fuel now. Let's just stick all of that on there. And let's go see if I've got any more fuel in my refinery, because I've had this running all day. So we should have a bunch in here. Yeah, we've got 226 there. Might as well take it and shove it all in, see what happens. It's going to melt down. Okay, more there. Let's go get all of my raw thorium and make some heat pumps. I've got 300 of it here, so I should be able to make plenty. Let's make 16 of them for now and see how we get on with this. Okay, what I'm going to do at this point here is have a struggle, I guess. I think we need more heat pipe coming out this way and going up there. More of it this way. Going up there. Then at this point here, we're going to get rid of those ones and I'm going to put 3 heat pumps in there facing that way. And apparently I've just turned them totally... Oh, jeez. Oh, no. It's a disaster. No, don't burn on my heat pumps. No, it took me ages to build those, mate. No. Oh, jeez. I ain't got any blocks to get rid of the lava. I'm on fire. Stop it. I'm not ready for fire and disaster. I'm not getting nucleared yet, so that's okay. Right, let's bring these back across here. Let's get the heat pumps facing in the right direction this time. That would help. And now I've got to build all of those heat pumps again. It's a good job I've made plenty of heat pipe. Okay, reconnecting all of our heat pipe then. Those pumps, that should be sending a whole bunch more out there, but they don't seem to be doing a great deal. So what I'm going to do at this point here is actually throw another one on there facing that way. Oh, no. That was a bad idea. Oh, jeez. I'm causing a lot of problems for myself today. Should have planned this out better. Stop it. Stop burning. There's nothing there to burn. Oh, no. My reactor's broken. Oh, jeez. I'm going to get nuclear in a minute. No, something else is... Oh, no, it's... Oh, no, we're having a meltdown. This is a disaster. I can't believe it's all going wrong. I tried so hard to make this perfect and I've just made a total mess of it. I don't seem to be melting down yet myself, but I've got a whole bunch of components I need to replace. Stop being lava everywhere, it's annoying. Oh no, I've got radiation. I've got mining fatigue. Stop it, I don't want to die of radiation. I want my thing to be okay. Oh no, and I put that in the wrong way round. Let me put it in the right way round. I knew this was going to happen. Oh, jeez. This is a total disaster. What could possibly go wrong? Hey, we're not... Yeah, are we okay? Oh, we seem to be all right. Okay, good. I appear to be a bit nuclear again. I can't break the thorium. I'm sinking through the world. Oh, now that one's gone. Take all of the fuel out. Wow. Well, now that I've shown you all what not to do, let's actually go and do this properly, shall we? I had to have at least one meltdown in the video, otherwise it'd have been boring. You trying to tell us you did it on purpose? Yeah, definitely. I 100% definitely did it on purpose, guys. You didn't, did you? Yeah, I did, yeah. It was on purpose. You didn't? Yeah, definitely on purpose. Oh no, radioactive again. So what I've learned from this is that I should probably get over 1 million SU in the next episode. I really wanted to title this. I had over 1 million. Oh, jeez. Oh, is that all lava in there? Oh, jeez. Oh, now that one's melted down. Oh, jeez. It's all worked so well. So we've had 4 complete nuclear meltdowns. We haven't had any power going on with our stick. Oh, they are going slowly. We're getting a whole 2048 SU. It really hasn't gone well, has it? In the last episode, I had what some may consider to be a full-scale nuclear meltdown of my nuclear facility. I, however, don't consider it to be a full-scale nuclear meltdown. I consider it to be a valuable learning experience, because I learned some very valuable things. Firstly, I learned that nuclear energy is both dangerous and difficult to deal with. For instance, now that I'm back here again, I'm getting old nuclear... Oh, jeez, I'm irradiated. But thanks to you guys in the comments, I now know a nifty way of getting around that, and that is with leather armor. You see, it turns out these wonderful things that we call cows are apparently nuclear proof. So I need a couple of them to breed them up and get myself some leather so I can make some leather armor. Ah, another one. Oh, and another. Oh, I only need 2. It's fine. Grow, my baby, grow. Come on, baby cow, you need to get big. Come on. Maybe I do need more cows. Well, that should hopefully be enough cows to get us started. Let's see if any more of them are ready for breeding. Looks like we've got a couple of candidates here, maybe, possibly. And now that we've got a bunch, I need to get my good sword. This one. Right, stand back. Cows that don't want to die. And there we go. The herd is now successfully culled. I should have enough leather to make some armor. Helmet, chest plate, trousers, and shoes. But of course, brown armor's rubbish. So let's make a quick cauldron, grab a bit of water, throw it in there, grab some yellow flowers, and then remember that I'm playing Java Edition and not Bedrock Edition. So let's just dye this armor in my crafting table, just like that. Now we have a full set of hazmat armor that you can't see because it's in my, but I am wearing it, I promise. And apparently now that I'm wearing this, I should be able to go in there freely without getting any irradiation damage, which means I'll actually be able to clear this mess up. But I haven't finished telling you about all the things that I learned. The next thing I learned was a big problem, and that is my plan to use heat pipes to extract the heat from our nuclear reactors and send them underground all the way out to the back here, through the floor and into all of my little power stations isn't gonna work. And the reason it's not going to work is because heat pipes don't actually send heat anywhere. They just spread the heat out, which means the more of them you've got, the less heat actually gets to where you want it to go. And that means this entire power station plan could end up being a massive problem. But before we get to that, the third thing that I learnt about is that heat pumps are bad. Heat pumps are evil little things. When you put heat pumps in like these ones here, the stuff behind them turns to lava, and that's not very good at all. However, like I said, this was a learning experience and not a full-on nuclear meltdown, and the biggest thing that I've learned is that I can achieve everything I want want to achieve with 4 nuclear reactors and powering my steam engines in their current locations all the way over there, and the only thing I need to achieve that is heat pumps. Wait a minute, you just said heat pumps are really bad and they're evil. Yes, they are, if you use them incorrectly. But heat pumps have a sneaky little trick up their sleeve, and I'm now going to go into a creative test world where I've made it a full-on copy of this island to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And here we are. It might look like the same place, but as you can see, my nuclear reactors are not only rebuilt, but also vertical, because I think if they're in a vertical orientation, if the actual reactor cores melt down, they're only going to melt downwards and not across and flood the entire area that they're around. But heat pumps, yes, they're a nifty little trick that they have. As mentioned, heat pipe spreads heat from one place to another. And when you put a heat pump into heat pipe, if there's a lot of heat going into that heat pump, it burns the heat pipe and turns it into lava. And that's because heat pipe is designed to heat up. It carries heat energy, and so do reactor heat vents and boiler heaters, which is what we're using to actually power our steam engines. However, yes, I've got my glasses on, you can see they've got an amount that they'll pump, but they don't actually get hot. You can't burn them. Well, I suppose you could if you had lava just kicking about anyway. Yes, they are going to disappear, but unlike this system where your heat pump pumps into heat pipe and turns that into lava, if you just have a big old line of heat pumps, there's nothing to get hot. They just transfer the heat. They don't spread the heat like the heat pipe does. Each one of these will take the heat out of the thing that's generating the heat behind it and transfer it through each one until it gets to its destination at the full heat it started with. And that's exactly what I've done in my little test mock-up of my power station here on my creative world. We've got our reactor heat vents next to the reactor rods. We've got some heat pipe coming down the back of those, and you can see everything's relatively cool and not getting too hot. And they just then go into heat pumps, which just form a little chain, and as you can see, each one of these is pumping exactly the same amount of heat, but they're not actually getting hot, and they will pump all the way along these tunnels individually to each one of my boiler systems, where at this point they will go into pipes, but because it's spread around and then they're going into more pumps and then into the boiler heaters, the boiler system can be on maximum. We don't get any heat loss through the pipes having gone a long distance, and nothing sets on fire. And as a result of that, as you can see, we've got one 18 size maximum boiler, 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them altogether, generating as a massive 1.2 million SU, which is ridiculous. So yes, coming into a testing world and actually testing these things has taught me a lot, and now I know that I can do what I wanted to do, and I know a safe way of doing it. That being said, I do like this vertical design we've got going on here, but that makes putting the fuel into the fuel systems pretty tricky. I kind of wanted to have a nice little simple central solution like we had in the last episode, so this might not be the layout I go for, but as long as my reactor cores are all on individual lines of heat pumps and they're not all joined together with a whole bunch of heat pipe, we shouldn't get anything burning down. No lava, no meltdowns, safe nuclear energy until I inevitably unload part of the chunks and it gets all confused and then but let's not worry about that. Let's go back to our world and fix this thing. How hard could it be? What could possibly go wrong? And now I've got my special clothes on. You can't burn me anymore, machine. Right, first thing I'm going to do is get some netherrack because I'm wearing leather armor. I can't actually now get hot anymore, and I need to get rid of all of the lava that's in here somehow. Now, oh jeez, I've stood in it already. Let's just get a nice bunch of the lava around each side of those. There we go. That should stop the spread around the room, and now I need to get inside of each of these and get all of the lava gone from inside, and the thorium that's melted through the world as well. So this should be fun. You find that fun, do you? No, not really. Oh, there it is, the lovely thorium stuff. My favourite, and hopefully I should be immune to it now. And the solid thorium I can actually break and pick up, which is quite nice. Oh, that thorium's gone a long way down. Oh, geez, that went really far. I still going? Can I break this now that I don't have mining fatigue? I can, but it's taking ages. Please don't burn through my inventory. Oh, I don't think I got it. I think it broke. Oh, no, I do. I get it. Nice. Okay, on to the third one. And I'm just going to do the same thing again. Get rid of all the lava out of there. Dig it down and try and figure out where all the thorium's got to. We've got one there that's still burning through the floor. There's one. There's two. Oh, geez. Oh, where did these ones end? Oh, my power system and my belts. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Wow, that one's really gone down. Jeez. Stop burning through the floor. Yeah, well, I guess we're going to have to redo all of this anyway. And that leaves just one side left to fix, as well as all of that through there. But we'll get to that later. Jeez, that one's gone a long way down as well. Ah! Whoa. Now this thorium that I am mining out of here is radioactive, which now begs the question, what should I do with it? I don't know. We need to find somewhere safe to put it at some point. And I'm just trying to rack my brains on a safe place that I could put radioactive material that's not going to cause any problem to the environment or the indigenous species of this world. And do you know what? I've got just the place. Somewhere we visited not too long ago that I had a lovely time, and I think they would I think that place would really appreciate having this stuff around, and I believe it's over in this direction. So let's go for a little fly. Yes, I can see it just coming into view now. The owners of a nice few bits of thorium and solid thorium, they're going to be so happy. Hey guys, I've got a present for you. Just coming through the window as usual. I think you're all downstairs, aren't you? There's some chaps in here. Here we go. Hey guys, look what I got you. I got you some oh yeah, I guess that's what happens when, oh jeez. When you're not wearing your proper armor, those vindicators hit pretty hard. Oh jeez. Well, there's a slight issue coming back to get my armor. It's just below me, and now I'm radiated again. But if I jump down there, grab that and do the run, oh jeez. Some people might call this karma. I call it annoying. And I call the server broken. That's not ideal. Oh, yeah, there we go. Let's try that again and see where I am. Oh. Well, that's convenient. Wow, that's a rollback and a half. Oh, well, at least now I can know what the future holds for me if I go to the Woodland Mansion to give them a bunch of thorium, and instead what I'm going to do is, put it in a barrel and never speak of it again. We should put this barrel over here, out of the way. Put that in there, and that can be my nuclear waste barrel that I don't want to ever see again. Right, now that that's all dealt with, it's time to finish sorting all of this out. And I've got a whole bunch of work ahead of me, destroying all of this, dismantling everything, crafting all of the new stuff to make in order to make this actually work. And I'm sure you don't really want to see all of that process, because it'll be pretty boring. So cut to me having crafted all of the materials and being prepared, ready to start building a nuclear power station all over again. When are you going to cut? I don't know. I'm not editing. I'm playing at the moment, not editing, mate. You speak to the editor. You're the editor. Well, you'll have to speak to future me then, won't you? How do I do that? Well, you just have to... Well, it seems like I got a bit carried away with the building there. I was just in the zone. I was just enjoying myself putting all of this together. And as you can see, we've got a nice big circular room with some more of those umbrella tree leaf things around the bottom. We've got a nice sort of platform that comes in and out. And I've even added in these doorways, as what I'm thinking is it would be nice to have an access point on either side to get in and out. And inside of these, I'd like to have airlock type things so you can put on your little hazmat suit and come in here and not get irradiated if there has been a meltdown or if there's a problem. We've got the placement for the 4 towers. And yes, I think I'm going to do them vertically, although I haven't haven't come up with a way to get the fuel in them yet that's not just going to be a big old mess of wires and chutes and things, so we'll have to figure that out. And of course down the side we've got a whole bunch of heat pump already in place running down this amazing little tunnel network that I've made, which I've fully decorated, which now goes to each of the different reactors, as well as, not reactors, steam boilers, as well as all the way outside where I need to finish off these exits. And my idea is here that, although it doesn't actually work like that in game and we're not going to actually have a system to do it, but should there be some sort of failure, we could flush the system out, run water down here and have it all flush out into the lake, because I want the world to burn rather than my nuclear power plant. But yes, we don't actually need a water flushing system in here. It's just make believe, it's just for show, and that's how it's all going to be. So the next thing I need to do is actually continue this heat pipe and take them actually to the boilers. So let's start with this one all the way over here, and of course I've covered it up, haven't I? That's smart of me. Well, we'll have to pop up through this hole here then and dig a little bit down in there so we can actually get to all of this stuff. And it appears I've got no heat pipe on me, so I'll go and get some heat pipe. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have a heat pump pumping into each one of the boiler heaters, and underneath that we're just going to have a whole bunch of heat pipe, and then below that we need to actually bring our heat pipe down and bring it to this wall so that we can bring that along the wall, just making a huge chain of it all the way to meet up with our other heat pipe, just like that. So now we've got one connected all the way to there, and we need to make sure all of these are pointed in the right direction so that we don't get any issues with the heat flow and then turn it all into lava again. And of course I need to tidy all that up so it looks a bit better than this, but that should do the job. In fact, what we could do is just break that block and break that block, and then we can just keep the heat pipe nice and square along the ceiling, attaching that at that point there, and then it doesn't look so bad. And then using a little bit of copycat slab, we can cover up the rest of that hole, and although it sticks out a little bit, I think that's absolutely fine. And now we've got that system in place. So now I'm going to connect the rest of them, and then we can start working on the reactors again. Now this one is a little bit awkward because it's going to come down along the side of there and then it's going to join, and I definitely don't want these things joining together. So in order to get around this, what I'm actually going to do with this line here is have that one be the one that joins onto that. And to do that, I just need to change the direction of that one. And then I'm going to remove all of these ones along here like this, and just redo this one slightly so that it comes down just to the side of that light there, and then we can bring that all the way down to the floor level and then run that down at this level here instead. And this is going to keep our little heat pumps nice and separate from each other. And there we go, that's that one connected as well. So we've now got 2 heat pipes fully connected. It's time to do the rest. And there we go, that is the heat pipe fully connected to all 4 boilers, but the boilers also need power for the water pumps. So now we need to route power around here as well. Thought you said you were going to get on with the reactors. Yeah, well, I forgot about power, mate. Now I've got a power line running down here which is going to go to our main room. We just need to link that up with the original power system. So in order to do that, we're going to need a whole bunch of shaft and a handful of gearboxes as well. And we'll put a gearbox there, bring that shaft up to that point there, and then we can run this in both directions because it doesn't matter which way the water pumps turn round. And if we bring that down to this point over here, we've actually got power coming through from our steam engines, but I do want that coming up a little bit higher up. We'll break that one, stick a little bit of chain drive on there, and then we can bring that through the wall and hopefully disguise as much of this as possible. That's going to come to there. We're going to put another gearbox on there. Then we just need to link this to both of the boilers. This one is just here, which means we just need a little bit of cog below that one to there as well. And then we can put yet another gearbox on there. And that's got that pump going. And then we just need to do this one. And this one is coming down here. Of course it is. The wrong side of our thing. So what I can actually do here, do a little bit of jiggery pokery. We'll bring that down just like we did the other ones, but we're going to remove all of these heat pumps, get rid of that, put a gearbox in there, join that to that, and then I'm going to go up above and I'm going to move all of these around. Let's take all of the ones from this side and put them all on this side instead, just like that. And then we can connect these with a little bit of heat pump and bring those down to our heat pump line. And I think that looks a whole bunch better. And there we go, everything on the other side is now in place as well. I've had to drop these heat pipes down a little bit just to make them fit around our power system, but everything looks fine to me, so I'm very hopeful that this is all going to work. I will go back to my test world and double check that that's actually how I had it all set up before, but before I do that, I actually want to figure out exactly how we're going to do these reactors. You see, we've got a couple of options here. What I could do is actually put the fuel inserters in the bottom and then pump the fuel up into the reactor rods, but if I do that and we do have a meltdown, it's going to burn down through that, including the fuel pump and anything I've got below it. So I think I'd rather it went in from the top. And if that's going to be the case, then we can have a flat surface there with our rods on top of that, and then the fuel inserters will go at the top up there like that. We'll have our reactor heat vents down the side of the reactor rods, something like that, and I think keeping them to the side there would be good, and then the heat pipe would come down the back of those like that, all the way to this point here, where we would then link them up with our little fuel pump lines, and that should work, although that's going to make things slightly tricky for this one coming across there. So what I could do is have some of them taller than the other ones to offset it a bit, or we can have a big old squirrel of the fuel pumps. And I keep calling them fuel pumps, they're heat pumps. I kind of also want to integrate some more of this umbrella tree membrane stuff on these as well, but I don't know if these will actually help save us from the nuclear reactor stuff. But I kind of like wanted to have those as if they were almost growing up the sides, like it was building up the nuclear waste, and then have like the glass casing on top of those. I'm not sure how that would look. In fact, I think that just looks rubbish, so let's not do that. In which case, we'll just have glass all the way down on each side. And then right at the very top, we'll cap that off with some more of the reactor casing just to fill those in, and they should all end up looking a little bit like that, which I kind of like. And now that we've got this one in, I need to figure out how I'm going to do these fuel lines, and what I might actually do, although it'll look a little bit squirrely, is just bring these all the way round the side of this, making sure I've got them all facing in the right directions, and then just bring those across from there and up to that line, and they're all facing in totally the wrong direction. That should work. And then this one, I can do exactly the same thing. Just like that. There we go. I think that looks a lot more interesting. So now all I've got to do is double that up on this side. So now we have all 4 reactors in place. We have all of our heat pipes and our power going through. We just need to figure out a system to get the fuel in there. And perhaps just a system of conveyors would do that job for us. But I only want one going in at a time rather than having a whole bunch going through on oh geez, this is going to be tricky. If I put a chute and a depot on each one and we had our mechanical arm in the center, I'm not sure if that will be able to reach. It should do. I think it might be able to. So I think we should still be able to use the mechanical arm idea. However, chutes and depots look stupid. So instead of using those, we can just throw a funnel on each one. And we might still be able to bring our reactor fuel up to the middle. And then we can collect from there and deposit in each one of these. So now I just need to get everything reattached to this to give it the power. Bring our power line all the way up to the middle like we did before. Throw in a vertical gearbox up there, and then we actually want to bring our power from over there. Now this might look a little bit ridiculous, but that kind of works. We're going to need some girders as support to make that all look okay. Just like that, that looks a little bit more substantial. So now we've got power to our arm, we need to test if it's going to work. Can it actually reach everything? I'm going to put 4 shafts on there. Put my goggles on so I can see what I'm doing. It doesn't like the shafts, but that's probably because that's not nuclear fuel, and I don't know if I want to test nuclear fuel in all of these things just yet. So maybe what we should do is just test it on one for now. Or an even better idea, if we actually replace that with a chute, it shouldn't mind putting any old thing in there. Put that back there, put one of those on there, and yes, it will reach. Excellent! So now all we've got to do is get our fuel up to there. So it's chute time again, and we'll have it coming through the floor again, just like we did last time. And also in the floor I'm going to have a hole there, a hole there, a hole there, and a hole there, and then just in case these do melt down and melt through this block, all of the lava should just go to there and not spread out all over the place. And a couple of minutes later, we've got a system just like we had set up in the previous video, which is going to take items that are going to come down from there somewhere, put them into this barrel, then release them one at a time, which will go up through this chute all the way up there to our depot. So I just got to get the chute in to actually put the items down onto here. Easiest way to do that is going to be come through here and pretty much just put a temporary one in like we did last last time, just in case there's a mistake and we can easily get to it and fix it. So let's just pop a barrel there, we'll stick a funnel on there, and then all I'm going to do is throw a whole bunch of chutes all the way up to the top. And yes, I realise I could put the chutes directly onto my belt, but I want to save some money on chutes because I'm running out. Have one more coming up there, a barrel on top of there, and then we can put our nuclear fuel in there and all should be good. Although that does look a little bit weird coming down there like that. So let's just make this look a little bit more substantial by blocking those in with this industrial iron casing. And then probably putting some girders around this thing as well, just to bulk it out a little bit. And then if we just get rid of the grates that are underneath each one of those, put in some more industrial iron blocks, that's just going to finish all of that off nicely. And that looks a lot more of a substantial structure than what we had before. And with all that now complete, apart from my little entrances and exits, it must mean it's time for a test. So before we start sticking fuel in this thing, it'd probably be a good idea for me to put my suit back on. So let's take all of this stuff off and that and put all of that on. Put these safely away in here. And now I can put one piece of fuel into one reactor and hope for the best. And before I do that, I just want to double check that all of these pumps are indeed facing in the right direction. Otherwise, we are going to have a world of power. Do you know what? Forget it. I'm sure I've done a good job. What could possibly go wrong? Let's chuck it in and find out. One piece of fuel. The reactor is lit. Let's check the temperatures. I need my goggles on. Yes, it's extracting. This is good. Yeah, okay. They all look pretty good to me. Down at the bottom here, we've got a reasonable amount of heat, and these pumps are pumping 2K at a time, and if I look along this line, they should all be pumping pretty much the same amount. Don't know why that block's there or that block's there, they look a bit weird. So let's keep going along all of these pumps, checking the numbers, and they all look pretty good to me. All the way down here, we're still pumping that amount. All the way around here, the numbers are jumping about a bit as the system tries to figure out exactly what it's supposed to do, but we... Oh, no, must have had one facing the wrong direction. Oh, jeez. Pump, where's my pumps? I didn't bring my pumps with me. Oh, jeez, fire again. I should probably keep all of the stuff that I need to fix this on hand. Oh, no, it's all going. Oh, no, it's all going, jeez, okay. What was the problem there? Oh, I think that... No, it's not facing the wrong direction. Let's just chuck pumps in and hope for the best. Come on, before it gets all the way down there. It's very difficult to do because I'm jiggling about. Oh, jeez, I don't want to make a load more... Oh, jeez. Well, it happened again, didn't it? But hopefully I can get back quick enough before the entire thing all blows to pieces. And all I need to do to prevent this going any worse is get my stuff back for a start. And if... Oh, I haven't got any of the things I need to do it. And my grave's still there, apparently, even though I got all my stuff. I just need one of those. If I put one of these in here, that should prevent the heat going any further back. It's the wrong kind of heat vent. I need that one. If I put one of those there we go. That's going to take all of the heat now. And now I can tidy up this mess. Leather armor's really not good for this. Why is my grave still there, even though I've already got it? Doesn't make any sense. Alright, let's try that again. Let's make sure all of these pumps are indeed actually facing in the correct direction this time. So it got to there and there was a problem. They all look to me to be going in the right direction. So let's just bring all of these back round here. All the way down to there. And for now, I'm going to leave that little thing plugged in just to make sure that we don't have another problem. So now the heat's going to come out of that and go into these. And these should hopefully make it all the way around to the reactor. To the boiler even though there's a bit missing in there now. Yeah, but it's starting to pump through. They're starting to get hot and the... oh yes, the boiler is engaging. It's doing it even though it's missing a piece. We've got level 15. This is wonderful. Oh, and I forgot I need to make these bigger. Totally forgot about that to get them full level 18. We'll worry about that in a minute. I actually need to craft a bunch more of those little boiler things just in case we have this problem all over again. Okay, let's just make these the full size. That should be big enough now for the full size. And that means we actually need 18 of these on the front. And currently we've got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So when we get the heat back in this, that will actually be full size. Although I do need some more shafts at the top. Okay, now all of the steam all of the steam engines are level 18 in size. Let's go and replace the couple of bits over here that we deleted. So we need one of those. Stop it. One of those and one of those. And that should all be back to normal again. Stop it. So now we can go and check the reactor and make sure we haven't had any major issues or meltdowns or anything like that. And that all looks good. And how about our tunnel? Is this all okay now? Yes, this all looks good. So now what we can do is get rid of that again, put another pump there, and hopefully this time everything should be all right. Let's throw one more piece of fuel in there, get it all kicked back in again. And let's go and make sure that we're not going to get any fire down here with pumps that are facing in the wrong direction. And while that's making its way through, I'm going to double check all of these ones haven't got any bits that are all wrong in these. They all look okay to me, and they all look okay to me as well. Yeah, everything looks okay. So I don't think we'll have the same problems if we start the other reactors, but you never know, so we'll do one at a time just to make sure. But this time, yeah, the heat is coming all the way through to there, and this should just about be getting enough heat now to go at full capacity. It's nearly there. My shafts have broke for some reason. Let's pop. Why do you keep breaking? There we go. We're now running at maximum capacity on there, which is giving us 230,000 stress units. Jeez. Right, let's go and try the other reactors. Okay, let's do this one. See how this one gets on. So this is going to go through all of here. All of these are looking pretty good. All of these are looking pretty good. No fire yet. That's good. Yep, it's starting to come through. Still no fire. It's making its way to this corner over here now. Getting hotter. It's now at this corner here, coming through. I've got a boiler heater on hand just in case something catches fire. And the heat is slowly getting to this point here. It's coming, which means that should start kicking in. It looks like the boiler heaters are changing colour, so this one should start getting hot now. It is. So this one's working with no problems as well. And no more fire. Okay, we've got 2 more to check. Let's do this one at this side here. Throw a bit of fuel in there and just make sure everything's gonna do what it's supposed to do. There we go, the heat's getting round to this corner. Slowly but surely it's making its way down here. It's got to this corner. It's coming round this corner now. Here we go. This one should start kicking in any second. Let's go up and check. It is. The heat is coming through. This one is working as well with no fire. So that must mean we've just got one more to check. And this is why it's incredibly important that you get those pumps facing in the right direction. Otherwise, you know, fire. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all of these ones will be going in the right direction as well. And we won't have any problems here. Just following the heat round. Chasing it down round the corners. Yes. Oh yes, it's looking good. It's made it to this corner. It's coming around the corner. It's getting hotter. Will it make it to the boiler? It's made it. Let's go check it out. The boiler is hot. It is heating up. It's working. And that means it's time to chuck a whole bunch of this fuel into the system and let it all go bananas. Right, let's do this. Okay. Mechanical arm, please do a good job. I am going to put the rest of that in there. And then I'm going to... oh, gee, I want to watch it. Need a hole. Ah, a hole. There we go. The nuclear fuel is coming along. It's going into there. It's going up there. I want to see the mechanical arm in action. Will I see it? There's one on there. Is it not doing it? Or are they all full? No, these 2 are not on. Do I need to reset you? Deposit, deposit. 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 Collect. Forced round robin. And there we go. We are now automatically fueling all of our reactors. So now all of our steam engines should get fully heated and we should have over 1 million SU. SU, mate. I beg your pardon. No need for that sort of thing around here. Doesn't it look marvellous? All working. It looks amazing. I'm very, very happy with it. Let's go check out those steam engines. Oh, this one's decided to smash itself to bits again. I guess once the heat slows down and doesn't work, these things are going to smash themselves to bits in terms of all of the shafts and things. So we need to keep our eye on that. Oh, jeez, it's gone again, look. But once they're all running properly, we shouldn't have a problem here. There we go. Nearly at full speed. That one is at full speed. Come on. A little bit more. No, it's falling to bits again. But you're at full... Why are you falling to pieces? Stop it. There we go. Now it's working. That one's at full speed and this one's at full speed. Let's join those together and see that we've got 589,000 SU. So let's just join those together. And now what we're going to do is link those to this one. And I'm just going to do that temporarily for now with a little bit of chain drive and a whole bunch of shaft. Let's stick a gearbox there with a whole bunch of shaft coming all the way through here. Stick our little stressometer on there. We'll run a whole bunch more shaft coming all the way along here. Stick a gearbox on there. Make sure they're both going in the same direction, which they're not, so we need to put another gearbox on there. Link those together. And now we should have, if I read this, 1.114 million SU. We've got over 1 million, guys. It's actually working and it hasn't ripped itself to pieces. We haven't had another meltdown. If I go down here, there shouldn't be lava anywhere at all. There's my grave still for some reason. But no lava there, no lava there, no lava here. And by the looks of things, absolutely no meltdowns. However, for some reason, these ones are not active. How's that happened? Huh. Can you not reach these ones? You are, you're putting it in there. So why are they not working? And now that one's gone off. What? But it says it's got fuel in it, but there's no heat coming off them at all. Oh. I can't break them either. Whoa! Huh. Well, that wasn't ideal. I'm glad I'm wearing my radiation suit. I need to get rid of this thorium now. Thank you. Let's stick a little bit more rod in there and figure out what was going on. Is it going to light now? It is. Perhaps we're putting too much fuel in them? Is that a problem? Now that one's lit because I put it back together again. But the other ones are not. And they're not generating any heat. But why? And that's literally eating through all of my fuel. I put like 200 fuel in there. It didn't do this on my test world. It's not registering any fuel in any of the reactors. Huh? Well, that's weird. This one's still going since I dismantled it. But the other ones are doing nothing at all. No, we've still got 1.4 million SU apparently somehow, even though none of these have got any heat in them and they're not actually doing it. Oh no, apparently that is at max. And that's at max, even though they're not. There's what? No heat going in them. It strikes me that something not right's going on here. And I wonder if that's a server side and client side problem. I.e. the server's down, but I'm still somehow managing to play on it. Is this doing anything? Yeah, this is all still going okay. So we're not generating any fuel apparently. What have I done wrong here? 643 sheets and a whole bunch of radioactive thorium, yet nothing here is happening at all. There we go. We're now producing fuel again. At an alarming rate. It's not that alarming. Oh, it's very alarming. So if that's happening then, I don't think there's a problem with the server. But there's definitely a problem here. I just have no idea what it is. Okay, let's waste some more. If I throw one in there, does it come on? No. Put the fuel inserter back on. Put that back on. Throw one in there. And nothing. Why? And even though there's nothing there, are my power stations still running? Yes, they are. Max power. That one's got heat coming through because that's the only one that's actually doing anything, but these three haven't. That one says it has, but not enough water apparently somehow. And these ones have. Now it's got enough water because there's something going weird with the server here. I'm getting 1 million SU for free. Oh, well, good. I'm not going to complain at that. I think it's probably because I've connected all these things together. If I disconnect all these things, I reckon the boilers that have not got max power will just stop. So let's disconnect all of them from each other. And perhaps I should log in and out again. And that did absolutely nothing, but now apparently all of these are white hot. They're all white hot, which means they're all getting heat from somewhere. Oh, and now they're all back on. Huh. So perhaps it was just a visual glitch? That's weird, because all of these were showing they had no heat, but now they're all showing that they're giving out plenty of heat. Well, the good news is it's working. The bad news is I don't know if I trust it. But since we've now got so much power, it's time to turn all of that tasty rotational energy into a whole bunch of electricity. And yes, I'm going to join all these things together again now. And I should probably tidy all this up and make it look a bit nicer, but right now I just want to keep my eye on it and keep it accessible in case anything does go wrong. So, in order to have a whole bunch of electricity being generated by this thing, we're going to need another one of those buildings, but probably quite a big one, because we're going to be building a whole bunch of this rotational power stuff like we've got here, all coming off our 1 million SU, generating an absolutely ridiculous amount of electricity. But there's no point in generating it if we're not going to use it, he says, generating over 1 million SU and not using it at all. Well, it's gone up 1.17 now. So what are we going to do with all of that power? Hey, I'm talking. In the last episode, I built this rather fancy nuclear power station, which has been running a little while now, hasn't melted down, and is still producing me over 1.2 million SU. But what am I going to do with all this power? Well, as I said at the end of the last episode, what I really need to do is to be able to store this power, and then also be able to use it for a big old storage system from the Applied Energistics 2 mod. And that's a whole bunch of work in itself, just putting together Applied Energistics 2 system from nothing, but a whole bunch of you in the comments told me that I can't use Applied Energistics 2 to store the power from this thing and then use it for other things. Now, there aren't any other tech mods on my mod pack apart from Create, so all I need to be able to do is take this rotational power, store it in some form of battery, and then be able to release it somewhere else in the form of rotational power. And I need to figure out how all that's going to work, which means it's probably a good idea for me to leave this world for a minute and pop over to my test world. And here we are. Just like that. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, basically, I need to figure this out because if I can't do what I want to be able to do, I'm going to have to be installing a whole new mod to this mod pack, which I kind of don't want to do because I've literally just released the last version of this mod pack publicly on CurseForge. And if you want it on Modrinth stuff, I can't. The Modrinth people won't let me put it on. But basically, my plan for this nuclear power station, not this one because this is in my creative world, the one in my actual world, is to have a big building that's basically a big old battery bank that's going to store an absolute ton of that power for future use that we can then use across the river that doesn't exist in this world over at my industrial area later on. And all of those machines and things are going to be running off rotational power, so we just need to store a whole bunch of it. And I think that's something we might be able to achieve. In order to achieve that, we're going to need a few things. An electric motor, a creative motor, an alternator, some dense energy cells, some overcharged diamond wire, and some electrical connectors. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop our electric motor down. This is our power station that is generating 1.2 million SU. We're going to have that going into an alternator, which basically turns that into electrical power. And then what we're going to do is stick a connector on there, put a dense energy cell there, and then put one of those on there and connect them together with that wire. And that's not storing any power. But don't worry, because there's another block. This one, the energy acceptor. See, what the energy acceptor can do is take the power that's coming from this and actually turn it into Applied Energistics power. There you can see we're now storing a whole bunch of power just from this little alternator here. And then what I need to be able to do is take that power out of there and then power a motor. So let's put down this electric motor here, stick another one of those on there, and then connect those things together, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure I could do this in my other world. Right. Fortunately for us, we have a whole range of motors from the Create New Age mod, so maybe we could power some of these instead. Let's put down this reinforced motor with this strong motor extension on it, grab ourselves a little bit more of this tasty cable stuff, and then plug those in together. Is that working? It is not. Okay. Put that on there and then connect those together. Is that working? It is not. What if we was to get some of this Fluix cable plugged into all of this stuff? Is that going to allow us to do it? No. Okay, so what if I just come directly off the energy cell instead? Put one of those on there and one of those on there and link those together. Nothing. Nothing at all. So it turns out you guys were absolutely right. I can't use Applied Energistics 2 to store a whole bunch of the power that we're creating in order to then use it later on in terms of rotational power. So I need something else. Now, unfortunately, there's absolutely nothing in the Create New Age mod that does this, so I am going to need a whole new mod in order to store power for the... Oh, geez, I've got to find a mod now. No, I don't! The multi-block accumulator from the Create Crafts and Additions mod, which is supported by the community for the fabric version, looks like it has exactly what I need in order to store large amounts of energy and turn it into rotational power later on. All I need to do is configure some stuff, and apparently that's it. Right. Can I make it bigger than 3x3? No. But I can have individual ones. Okay, how much energy can this store? I can, wow, okay, I can make it 5 high. I just need to give it an input and an output. Stick one of those there and one of those there. Can I use this crazy overcharged cable stuff? Oh, look at that. That will hold 90 million MEs. I don't know what an ME is, but I'm going to have 90 million of it. No, it's 90 ME. Oh, well, surely that's 90 million energy, right? Okay. Oh, right. So I can have a whole bank of these things. This is amazing. And then I get my electric motor, or even one of these fancy reinforced motor jobbies. Stick one of those on the back of there, one of those on the back of there, stick a little bit of cable on there, and then stick a little bit of cable on there, and watch them. Oh, this one's going. This one, not so much. Oh, now it's going. Okay, so the motor extension. Oh, does the motor extension go the other end? No. How does this work? Oh, maybe it goes that way round and I stick that on there. Yes, it does. And then the motor extension means I can make it have 200%. I don't know what it is percent of, but I like 200% because that's double what I would usually have. Stress to... Oh, right. Okay, I see. Right. Gotcha. I'm picking up what you're putting down, game. So I guess all I need to do is craft a whole bunch of these. How hard could that be? And what is the Tesla coil for? I feel like I need one. I don't know what it does. Give it some power and find out. It has 40 in it. Was it kill mobs? It does not. Well, that is a shame. So back on the actual world then, before we get carried away and start building a whole bunch of those accumulators, I think it would probably be a good idea for me to at least get this island in some sort of state that it doesn't just look like a higgledy-piggledy mess. Which means adding in some roads around our power station, expanding the platforms, expanding the whole area so we've got a nice wall around this island and basically doing absolutely loads of stuff, which probably means you're going to get a replay of this all round about now. We've got a garden, a tiny little flowery garden to make this nuclear power station feel like it's a green, clean energy power station and not one of those dirty, horrible things that has all sorts of smoke and horrible gases coming out of it. Yes, right, so I've been very busy. First of all, putting in all of these walls with some lights around with some different variations of stone, followed by a whole bunch of floor with different variations of tuff. And yes, I said variations wrong. And then I created roads with different variations of mud, and then I created walls with fences around, and then it took forever. But I think this area is just about complete now, and we've got 1, 2, 3 brand new empty buildings ready for building lots of useful things. And we're gonna need lots of useful things for turning all of that rotational power that we're not getting over here anymore because everything's shut down into electricity so we can store it in bulk. In order to do that, we're going to have systems in place to actually convert the rotational power into electrical energy, so that's going to be an expensive rabbit hole of production. And then of course we need to store that with those accumulators we saw earlier. One other thing I did during that big old time lapse was to build a basalt generator in order to make basalt for the roads, which I didn't actually end up using any of because it was too blue. yeah, I've got this weird blue tint which doesn't go with the mud or this deep slate at all, so I've now got an absolute ton of basalt just kicking around in here, as well as loads of these other materials that I didn't actually use all of them of. And if you're interested in seeing my little tuff farm, which is down underneath this little power station, and it was a mud farm at one point as well, but it's a tuff farm again now because I needed more tuff. All we've got going on here is a box I fill with diorite, one I fill with andesite, a lava pump pumping some of the lava from our lava farm into this basin, and a press on top, and that just generates a whole bunch of tuff into this box that isn't here now because they took it upstairs. Anyway, I'm procrastinating away from the job that we actually need to be doing today, and that is to turn all of the rotational energy into power. But as I said, we've got no rotational energy now because all of these have turned off, and that's because my nuclear power station rod reactor things have got no fuel in. If we hop inside my little power station just here, you can see all of these things have shut off. It's ready to go, but we don't have any fuel, and I also haven't finished the little entrances and exits that I said I was going to do in the last episode. There's still so much to do, and I think the first port of call here is to get this up and running again by getting fuel in. And I don't want to just manually deposit into this barrel, which we were doing before, which then sends it under and brings it up for the arm to collect and deposit. I want to automate getting it in here, and I was going to do that with vehicles, although I think, considering it's taken me 2 days to get to this point in the recording already, and we're only just 10 minutes in, I don't think I've got time to be building an entire rail station with little vehicles running around just to take the items from this building and put them in that one. So what we're going to do for now is just have some conveyors, and coming into this room, considering I've been building for all that time, we should have... What? I thought we'd have more than 700. Pretty sure it was about 700 when I started. Is there something wrong here? You're not making any. Have you given up? Oh, have you got too many things in? Well, that's not ideal now, is it? Jeez. Okay, so we got a surplus of clay, we got a surplus of stone, but we didn't have a surplus of thorium because this... Why? You're on forced round robin. Maybe if I just put it onto round robin, it won't have such an issue getting stuff in there in future. So, yes, fuel into the nuclear reactor. We need to automate getting it from there all the way over into this building over here via means that I haven't really thought about or put a great deal of time and effort into thinking about because I was going to use vehicles, but I've run out of time. Jeez. The other problem is, I mean, the idea was that it's supposed to be hit. Oh, I suppose we are finishing it off at this point here, so we could actually bring that storage box that's got the nuclear fuel into this end, and then we could have, like, this garage door opened up a little bit so that a vehicle could get in there. And then it could just come across here and deposit it in here, but then we got to get it from here into there. And so a few minutes later, with the power of video editing, I now have a hole underneath our nuclear fuel farm, which is filled in with industrial iron and lights that leads all the way down around this little squirrely corridor, past this bit where we're going to be getting power from, all the way down to our nuclear reactor, where we already had all of these systems in place to take the nuclear fuel and put it into the nuclear reactor. So all I'm going to need to do here is basically just extend this belt. Oops. Yeah, extend the belt. Jeez, will it reach this far? Yes. And that's not going to go any further, so then we're going to need another belt all the way down to this point here. Come on, join. Is that too long? Really? Huh. Okay, it goes to there. Fine. Right, fine. We'll have another one there then. And then we'll have a little one over here. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind if you want to have a little bit of belt there. And then we need one coming this way, all the way from there to there, just like that. And then we just need one from there to there. And hopefully this one will be long enough. It is not. Oh, it's so annoying. Fine. In that case, we'll just have a little piddly one at this end here as well then. That's absolutely fine. If you're going to be awkward with your length of your belts, that's fine. You can change it in the config. I don't need to change it in the config. It's fine. One actually needs to come one longer, so we can put a gearbox in there, and then this one needs to come one longer so that we can put a gearbox in there, and then this needs joining together just like that, and then this one needs joining together just like that, and then it all needs nicely colouring in with this lovely andesite casing stuff all the way down to the very end. And I could have this angled. I could have this belt angled down from there, but I'm just going to put a chute in. That's easier. So now we just need to power this, make sure it's going to go in the right direction. And that should just be a case of, hopefully, fingers crossed, popping one of those on there. Wow. Wow, always the wrong way around. Every time. Fine. In that case, we'll have one of those there, one of those there, one of those there, and then one of those there. Now it's all going the right direction. Let's make sure at this end everything's doing what it should be doing. So it's going to go into this barrel here, which is basically just like a backup to then allow just one at a time to come through. Go up there. That should be going in the right direction. I believe it is. Yes, it is. That'll get blown up there and they'll go into there. So all we need now is a system in place to actually get the nuclear fuel on top of this thing, which I'm just going to do with a whole bunch of chutes. However, I am going to need a smart chute at the top with the filter so that it doesn't suck absolutely everything out of this system and just takes the actual things that we need. We'll pop that there, make a smart chute. Now I need to prevent any of this coming out of here when I attach this to this, which is going to be a very difficult thing to do because it's going to be attached to that. So we need to actually, instead of having that there, just put a full block there for now so it can't go any further. Pop that on there, grab one of those, chuck that on there, put those back in there, take the clay out of there that's gone in there, put that in there. Now it's got nuclear fuel, but I only want it going one at a time, so that's absolutely fine. So then we'll take the 64 out of there. That should only have one in there now, which means we can take that out of there, join those together, and now the nuclear fuel is going down these chutes, as you can see, onto our conveyor belt, and that is going to power our nuclear reactor. But it's a total waste of fuel having that running now while we've got nothing in place at the other end to do anything about it. So I need an on and off system for this, which means I need to come all the way down to here. No, I don't. Yeah, I need to stop the conveyor before it gets there. Jeez, quick. I just need that one. There we go. No, there. Whew. Now what I need in here is a redstone link on the wall with fuel and fuel on there and a lever next to it with that power to turn that on. And then we need to go back down again, down my new tunnel into the corner here, put a clutch on there with a redstone link on there in receive mode with one of those and one of those, and now that's going to turn off the entire system, which means it's now fully controllable from that switch upstairs. And nothing is or should have made it up to the top just yet, which means we're not wasting any nuclear fuel at all. However, it looks like I've missed a spot here. So let's just finish that off there, and there we go. Job's a good one for this. And that means we can now move on to the fun stuff. And the first fun stuff we're going to be moving on to is turning our rotational power into electricity. And that means we need a whole bunch of magnets. And we don't just want to be using the normal boring magnets. I really want to be making the netherite magnets ideally, or if not, at least the fluctuated magnets. Because that way we're going to get a whole bunch more bang for our buck with our power turning it into electricity. Now these fluctuated magnetites are not that difficult to build once you've got a little charger set up. And we've already got some of that stuff already set up from when we had the little temporary workshop out here. However, the netherite stuff's a little bit more tricky because we need netherite scrap. And realistically, we're going to need a whole bunch of these things setting up. And the reason for that is there's absolutely no point at all in just plugging all of our power into one transformer. Because as much as we'll be able to make the generator go really, really fast, we need to make sure we're using all of our SU. And I think that means we're going to need a whole bunch of these generators, which is why I've left a massive amount of space out here, which is where all of our battery banks and our generators are going to be operating. And that means we're going to need a whole lot of magnet stuff, because you need the magnetite in order to make the fluctuating magnetite, unless we do go for these netherite ones. But I don't think I've got much netherite scrap. I have one. However, there is a way I can craft it. What I need is some netherite dust, some nuggets of experience, and a whole bunch of lava in order to turn our netherite dust into netherite scrap, as well as some other junk. But in order to get netherite dust, I need powdered obsidian and cinder flour and a superheated blaze burner. And I'm not anywhere near any of that stuff just yet. And I'm not sure, even with nuclear power, if our boiler heaters, when they're running at maximum temperature, are classed as superheating? There's only one way to find out. And that is to come back to my test world where I have this single core reactor rod set up going into 3 boiler heaters with 3 blaze burners on top, and this one I've given a straw which allows it to drink lava from underneath it, and I didn't know if that'd be helpful for this. I thought we'd check, so let's just chuck on a bunch of fuel on there. That's going to go into there, power this thing. These should start getting hot, and that doesn't help with the blaze burners at all. And to be honest, I didn't think it would. But instead of putting those on there, can we just put basins on there, and does that count as those being now superheated? If I was to put a blaze down there with a basin on it and fill that full of blaze cakes, it goes blue. And if I was to put a mixer on there, powered with a creative motor, and throw in a little bit of this obsidian powder and a little bit of cinder flour, that works. But will it work on here? Put one of those there and there and there. Put a cog on there. Might as well just join that to that and use that one's power, and then we'll throw in some powders, obsidian and some cinder flour. We don't need these ones. We're just going to have it all coming through this one, which should hopefully get hot enough in a minute. Yes, it's at maximum, and that's doing absolutely nothing. But if I just dig a little bit of a hole in the floor, get rid of that and put a heat pump on there facing upwards, is that going to heat this up? It is not. That pump's not actually pumping anything at all, which is rather odd considering it's connected to this. I guess maybe because it's got nothing to pump into, but that seems a bit strange. I wonder what would happen if I put a blaze burner there and put a pump into that. It's also still pumping nothing. Let's get some more heat pipe down here, and it's still pumping nothing. I don't understand why it's not pumping anything. Oh, now it's pumping. Yes, it won't pump into a basin or a blaze burner. So it doesn't look like we're going to be able to go down the netherite scrap route at this moment in time, which is good because I really don't have enough time for that in this episode, and I'm planning on a netherite factory later on anyway. That's going to save me some time. In which case we either need to stick to the fluctuated magnetite, which means we need a whole bunch of magnetite, or we could go for layered magnets, which is just overcharged iron and gold. We could even go for redstone magnets, but we really are going on the weak magnetic force at this point, so let's see how much magnetite I can get hold of. I have 148, but is that going to be enough? So each coil will require a minimum of 12 magnets, and I have 148, which means I can make 12 rings. But I don't know how much power each ring will use from our power station, and like I said, I want to make sure we're maxing out our SU into electricity, because I'm weirdly back on my test world, that is, because I need to now figure that. Oh geez, I got a lot of maths and sorting out to do, so I'll be with you guys in a minute. So the first test I need to do is figure out how much stress each one of these generator coils uses in order to figure out how many generator coils we can have. So I've got this running off one max size boiler, which is running at max efficiency on maximum speed, and if I put a cog on there, we should find out that this is using hardly anything at all. So we have 295,000 available stress from this, and if I join this to this, that then uses 10,000. That's a lot less than I thought. Okay, let's disconnect that one then. If I have 2 of them, that is now using almost 20,000. So it's around about 10,000 for each generator coil. But what if I switch out this magnetite for the fluctuated magnetite? Does that mean we use less, or does that give us more? Now this might just affect the amount of electricity that we get out of this, or it might just affect how much stress each one uses. So with neither of these plugged in and back at our full level of stress, let's plug that in, and now we're using more. We're now using 30,000 on one coil, but our energy output is 720 energy per tick. I didn't check that before. I've got to put the magnetite back on now then. So replacing the fluctuating magnets with the original magnetite, that's only giving us 90 energy per tick, but is only using 10,000. Okay, I'm picking up what this game is putting down. The better the magnets are, the more energy we get, but the more stress it uses. But can we get a little bit silly with this? For example, can I have a whole bunch of those coils all coming out at once and then just generate an absolute ton of electricity, or is there a maximum number of coils you can have per set of carbon brushes? So with this I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those now. I'll stick my carbon brushes on the end. That's now generating 3,600 energy per tick, and as we can see from the generator coils, they're using 30,000 SU each, which means we're using now 150,000 SU. So we can just have a big old line of that, which then means that we're generating a whole bunch of energy from this But how far can I go? Okay, if I add 10 on there, that's going to overstress one max size boiler. So the most we can get from one max size boiler is 9, which gives us 5.8 thousand energy per tick, and that's basically using 270,000 SU. But you're already probably picking up what I'm putting down. If I was to use this fluctuated magnetite in order to max out our 1.2 million SU boilers in my actual world, I would need 39 generator coils running at max speed in order to actually use all of the SU and generate all of the power. And as I said earlier, I can only make 12. Which means we're probably going to have to be using layered magnets instead, which is going to change everything quite significantly. And they look really awful. I really don't like the look of these things. Now let's just change this all out with the magic wand and see how that affects everything. Now each one of those is using 18,000 SU at an efficiency of 67%, which means we're only getting 2.9 thousand energy out of there, and that means we've got a whole bunch of stress left, which means we're going to need a lot more coils. So let's make a whole bunch of these things. Break that, add all of these until it's totally overstressed, which is at that point there. Stick on our carbon brushes and the stressometer, and we're using exactly the right, we're perfectly stressed. But how many are we using? We're still only getting 2.9 thousand energy per tick. Is that what we were getting before? Yes. Ah, okay, so there's a limit here as well we need to consider. Okay, so, right. So 8 generator coils will max out 1 carbon brushes, but what if I put 2 of these in front of each other like this? Can I now go up to 16? No, because I can only have that many in there anyway. But if I stick carbon brushes on there, fix my wall over here, and then stick more carbon brushes on, no. So we can only have 8 generator coils per carbon brush, and we need 16 generator coils per max size boiler using the layered magnets, which means we're going to need 2 of these tunnely things with 2 sets of carbon brushes for each of our boilers, which means we're going to need 8 in total, which isn't as many as I thought, but that is going to be an awful lot of layered magnets. And I wanted this outdoors and to look like industrial and nice, but the only way we're going to achieve that is with these magnetite blocks. But that's going to give us nothing in terms of power. So I guess at some point or other we're going to be needing to upgrade this entire system, but for now let's see what we can do in terms of getting all of these in place. And that means it's time that I took over one of our brand new buildings in order to build a generator coil building factory, because I'm going to need somewhere to build all of these fluctuated magnets, or the layered ones, whichever ones we decided to use, which means I'm going to need a whole bunch of energy stuff. That's right. Now these 2 buildings are close to where we're going to be working, so it makes sense to have the things that we're going to be building over there close by. However, they're miles away from our normal power station, and that one's a lot closer. So I might build it all in there and save those ones for later for something else. And all I need to do is build a whole bunch of energizers. Now we've already got the basic energizers, but I think I'm going to need reinforced energizers in order to energize the diamonds in order to make the layered oh no, I don't need overcharged diamonds for those. Huh. I just need overcharged iron and gold. Now gold requires 2k of power, whereas iron requires 1k of power, and the basic energizer does... Oh, it's a speed difference. Okay, right. Oh, well, in that case, we want lots of speed, don't we? So, yeah, we're going to be building in there, which means I need to route power into there and build a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah, let's get that done. So, making myself a little workstation inside and routing the power in, I'm now ready to start crafting all the things we need. And we already have 1 basic energizer, but we're going to need 2, and good ones. Good ones require overcharged gold, and really good ones require overcharged diamonds as well. So, I guess we should set up a basic line in order to start making the basic ones, and that means it would be better if the power was over there. Yeah, let's move the power just like that. There we go. We've got power on the other side now. Fill that hole back in, and then we're gonna need, these are all gonna be oh, hang on a minute, these need electricity, so we're gonna have to have a basic coil generator in here. Okay, in that case, let's build that, I guess at the back of the room makes most sense. Let's build it a couple of blocks off the wall, and we'll just have this as very, very basic for now, because it doesn't need to be anything particularly fancy. We just need our generator coils, our carbon brushes, and then we just need to get that power over here. So I'm going to do what I did in the last building and just smash all of these to bits, and then just use a bit of chain drive to bring this power all the way down to this end of the room here, where we'll bring it upwards. Have some shaft there, a bit of shaft there, a bit more chain drive going across here like that, and connect those together, and there we go. Now we're generating electricity. Fantastic. Now we're going to need some belts and things putting together, so let's do that across here. So let's have one belt just there like that with a basic energizer above that. We'll get power to that from this. If we spin that round and put a shaft there, then we can stick a vertical gearbox there and attach that to that. That's going to power it, but it still needs electricity. So let's keep things nice and basic for now with our connectors. We'll put one on there and one on there, and a little bit of copper wire from there to there, and now that's connected. We can connect the belts nice and easily as well. And then we just need a bit of casing there. We'll tidy all of that up. We'll stick a barrel on there, a barrel on there, a funnel coming out of there, and a funnel going into there. And now we'll just energize one stack of gold, because we're going to be upgrading this. And we're going to need another one of these for our iron. So we might as well get that in place while we're waiting for this to cook. So let's just bring that across here. In order to keep things nice and easy to walk around, we'll put a bit of chain drive there, a bit there, and then that in the middle there, with a bit of casing on, and now we can get through. And now we've got a stack of overcharged gold in there. We're going to need a bunch of copper rods, a couple of basic energizers, which means we can now have a couple of advanced energizers. And then we just need to stick a few diamonds through there, which is going to take a long time on these basic ones, but then we'll be able to make the reinforced ones. There we go, 4 overcharged diamonds, which means we can now make 2 reinforced. Why can we only make what? Oh, I need more diamonds. And now we can make our second reinforced generator energizer thing. Put one on there, get rid of that one now, surplus to requirements. Put that one on there, bring some shaft across there to join them together. Now I'm assuming that this one's probably going to need some better wire than the copper stuff, but we'll see what happens. Let's just chuck one of those on there. Connect that with our wire as well, and is that going to get enough? Wow, they can store up to 1 million? So in this one then, let's chuck in 9 stacks of iron, and in this one we'll chuck in the rest of our gold, which will be 9 stacks in total. And look at these things going, but are we actually producing enough power to keep those running? It doesn't look like it. It actually looks like they're going through power faster than we're generating it, which is a good thing to know. But these are only going to be running temporarily while we're getting the ingredients we need for these things, and the ingredients we need are a little bit lopsided, as we're going to need a lot more iron than we are gold. So I'm just going to grab another stack of iron blocks, turn those into another 9 stacks of iron ingots, and shove all of those in there, and they can continue to go once the gold is finished. Now the other thing we're going to need is cable, otherwise known as overcharged diamond wire, which we get from soaring overcharged diamonds and then energizing them. So let's make another one of these setups, but this time with a saw. So shuffling things around slightly to maximize the space we've got, I've now got our gold and our iron next to each other, and now this is going to be our process for generating our wire. So the way this should work is that if I was to fill this barrel in with overcharged diamonds, they should come out, go into there as the unfinished things, then get squirted with that thing, and then eventually they're going to come through as these, which I then need to put in this filter as a deny list and put that on there so that they all get, yes, just kept in there, which is done. Oh, well, that works nicely then. Excellent. That means we're going to need a whole bunch more overcharged diamonds in order to get plenty of this wire, which we're going to need if we're going to be transferring a whole bunch of energy very quickly into our accumulators. But I don't know how many of those we're going to need just yet, so I'm not going to do anything with that for now. What I am going to do is take a whole bunch of this gold and a whole bunch of this iron and make a whole bunch of those magnets. Just like... Oh, wow, you get a lot for your money. Okay, that's a lot of magnets. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think it's more than enough. And now we've got stuff to make magnets with, but we're going to need a whole bunch of generator coils and carbon brushes as well. And I think we decided we need 16 generator coils per max-sized boiler, and that means we need 2 carbon brushes per max-sized boiler. And we have 4 max-sized boilers in this place. We have 2 on each of those, so we're going to need a whole bunch. 64 generator coils in total and 8 carbon brushes. Oh, how could that be? It's just going to be a whole lot of copper and a whole lot of andesite alloy. And I'm running seriously short on blocks of andesite alloy. I guess I need to go make some of that. Which brings me back to my storage system, stealing a bunch of... Oh, I ain't got much andesite there. That should be plenty for now, though. And then back into this little thing, where I just need another hopper, another barrel. I need to put all of that andesite in there. Then I need to go into this backpack, get a whole bunch of iron nuggets out of there and chuck those in there, and that should start making me some andesite alloy. But I want more, so let's make even more iron nuggets. There you go, have a full barrel full, bro. And that means I need more andesite, but I've got a whole bunch of that if I squirrel my way down to the bottom of this mine. Down in the last little area here, we always seem to have way too much andesite in here. And that's not the only place I've got andesite. If I then go all the way back to the top of my mine, using my handy elevator, if you remember from previously, my storage for all of that stuff is upstairs, and there's a whole bunch of stuff there just waiting to be collected. In fact, there is 65,000 andesite, diorite, soul sand, a whole bunch of cobble, and a hot... Wow, that's a lot of gold. Yeah, well, we're not short of anything. So let's just shove the rest of that andesite in there, and then I'm just going to wait for my entire life for this barrel to fill up. It feels like this entire episode I've been waiting for resources to gather. I can't wait till my industrial area's... well, started, I guess, but finished, so I could just have all of these things on hand, jeez. And many time later, we now have almost a full barrel's worth and a whole bunch still left. Oh, not that much left to go through, jeez. Anyway, we've got plenty. And this all needs to be blocks of andesite alloy. Now we can get a whole bunch of that copper. I can make, yay, a full stack. Excellent. And the carbon brushes is just more andesite alloy with coal and shafts. I have shafts, I have a whole bunch of coal, and I have a whole bunch of andesite alloy. And we only need 16 of these, and I can make 64. So let's not overdo it. I've made 18. And with all of this fancy new stuff, that means we're well on our way to turn our rotational power into electrical power. So let's do this. So, in order for these not to just look horrendously horrendous, because these blocks are not the prettiest of blocks, I'm having some thoughts on how this is going to be done. We're going to need 8 rows of this, each one of them being 8 blocks long, which is going to take up a significant amount of space. And assuming we're having the backs of them towards where our power's coming from, that would actually make the line of them all the way to there, which would be a bit of a tight squeeze getting anything else in, and I don't really want it going all the way down there. So I'm having more ideas. One of my ideas was, instead of having them vertically, like it shows in all the pictures, we could actually have them horizontally. Like this. I'm pretty sure we could put our coils in that way, and our carbon brushes on top of that as well. We can. So we could actually have these buried in the ground slightly, so they're not protruding too much, or I can make them look nice and still have them quite tall and sort of give some depth and texture to this area. I'm going to have a fiddle with the layout and see what I can come up with. So I was considering a layout like this, with all of them just sticking out of the ground and having some sort of structure around them to disguise their horrible colour, but then I need to consider how far the wires can stretch from where they're going to be generating the power over to the accumulators, and that is it. That's the maximum length of cable we can have, and that's not close enough to go to our accumulators. I don't know whether it's possible to jumper these from one to the next. I assume it will be, so you could have things like electricity pylons and things going around your world, but I don't really want to do that for this. I want each one to have its own dedicated connection to the accumulators that are nearby, and that means I'm going to have to arrange this a little bit differently. Let's say, for instance, that these are our accumulators, which are going to be 3x3 blocks. I want each one of these to be able to fill up 4 accumulators that are maximum size, and that means they're going to need to reach all the way from over there to there, which that does. So that would be 1 power coil, and they would be the 4 accumulators. That's absolutely fine if we're just having 4 of those. That will fit in this area here, but then I'm going to need to have the rest of them. So what I think I'll then need to do is actually mirror this. So then we would have the next set of accumulators at this point here, a little bit like that, and then behind those, what have I got? I've got a 2 block gap, which means our other coil's going to be coming out of the ground over here, something a little bit like that. So we'd have our generator coil there, and then the accumulators in the middle. And if I maximize the use of this space, we can fill up pretty much this entire area like that and make this look really good. So without going too crazy filling all of them in, that would be the full size of the area for all of our electricity production, which I think is more than enough space. But I kind of want to build the accumulators to put them in so that I'm not just building everything out of this industrial line and having to keep breaking it down again. And I haven't even looked into the accumulator crafting recipes. Oh yes I did, I looked at it earlier. We're going to need a whole bunch of copper rod, a whole bunch of gold wire, a whole bunch of capacitors, and a whole bunch of brass casing. Capacitors are red. Oh, I just need loads of sheet. That shouldn't be too difficult, but how many do I need? Well, each one is 3x3, which is 9, and they can be 5 layers tall, which is going to be 45 in total. And we're going to need 32 full-size ones, which is 1,440 accumulators. Or 22.5 stacks to be precise. So I better go and get crafting. So I'm going to need 45 stacks of capacitors, which is 45 stacks of copper sheet, 45 stacks of zinc sheet, and 45 stacks of redstone torches. That's a lot of stacks. I don't have any zinc sheet at all. I've got a bit of copper sheet, and I've got plenty of redstone though. But I think this would be a good time to go back to my storage system and make the most of my presses. Your presses? No, presses. It's not Christmas yet. Nearly Christmas. It is nearly, but I didn't say prezzies. 45 stacks of zinc. That's more than an inventory's full. This is going to take forever. I've got an idea. Pick up my backpack and get back to the power station and turn on my nuclear power, which I'm going to be using to power a whole bunch of presses when this hopefully comes online. There we go. Power is coming online. It's going to take a minute to warm up my steam boilers, but while that's happening, let me go show you what I've got in plan to make basically pressing 45 stacks worth of 3 different materials a whole bunch easier. I have set up 16 presses, each with its own barrel, funnel and belt, and over here I've added on a speed controller which is now connected to our steam boilers here, and as soon as power starts coming through these things I can connect this all together and we'll have these ingredients pressed in no time. The power is coming through and destroying itself to pieces. I'm going to disconnect these things from each other because they just keep falling to pieces. It's so annoying. Stop falling to pieces. So let's get these attached to my presses. Everything is going in the right direction. So let's grab myself. Grab yourself? No. Grab myself a whole bunch of zinc. And let's just stick like 3 stacks in each one. That's 36 stacks worth up to there. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I didn't... What? I need more. Oh, jeez, I've got to go back to the place. But look at them all go, making me many pressed zinc. But I'm going to need a lot more than that. I think it was pressed copper as well. I might as well take some iron. And we'll take some gold, why not? Well, that's all of the zinc and copper now pressed, which is wonderful, but I've got a problem with redstone. While it looks like I've got quite a lot, I need 45 stacks worth. And in my backpack, that means I need 2 slots worth of 124, which I've only got 1.5, plus another 832 in another slot. And looking in my jewel box, I've got 17 blocks of redstone left, and if I stick those in there, that's nowhere near enough. I thought I had loads of redstone, and I'm not making any anywhere. Now, it is possible to wash crushed raw iron in order to get redstone, or I could do it using the cinder flour and potions of strength system, which I've done before, and it's a slow and tedious process to put together. Mr. Beardstone just did it. I know he just did it in his... I know. Look, I've got no time. And it's bedtime. This video's due out tomorrow. This is the last one before the movie comes out. So I need this area finished. And it's just not going to be. So I think realistically, I'm just going to have to build as much as I can. And then, finish it off at another time. So let's empty all of this stuff out. And hope that I've done my maths so wrong that actually I've got more than enough ingredients for the things that I need. For now, let's just make a bunch of redstone torches, rather than burning through my entire supply. And then we can make a bunch of capacitors. That's 7 stacks worth. Now we just need copper rod and gold wire. Copper rod is a rolling machine and gold wire is a rolling machine, which needs gold sheets. So I'm going to need 22.5 stacks of gold wire and 22.5 stacks of copper rods. Can I have 22.5 stacks of gold, please? 9, 18, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.5. Let's get all the gold going in my presses. And let's just set up a little rolling mill. We can just stick that in there. Why not? Oh, you actually get 2 stacks for every... Oh, okay. So we don't need 22 stacks then. We just need 11. Let's chuck some gold sheet in there and see how much gold sheet we get out of this. So again, yes, we get 2 stacks worth. Okay. So now that I've got everything other than the capacitors because of my lack of redstone, I should be able to craft a whole bunch of these accumulators. Let's grab ourselves some golden wire and some copper rods and our capacitors and see what happens. Brass casing as well? I need 45 stacks of brass oh my god. I don't know why I didn't look at that. I probably just looked at it and thought that looks expensive, so I'm going to ignore it. Oh, jeez. How much brass case? I've got 10. Which, oh, no, oh, gee, oh, what another rabbit hole. Oh, jeez. Okay, then, to make this nice and simple, what I'm going to do is just remove these energizers for now. Put a couple of pokers on each of those belts. Put a chute and a barrel on each one of those. Put a bunch of brass in each one of those. And then a whole bunch of strip logs in each one of those. And that should hopefully start giving me a bunch of brass casing. Yes, it is. But I am going to need more brass and more strip logs. Okay, a whole bunch of time crafting later, and I now have a whole bunch of brass casing, a whole bunch of gold wire, a whole bunch of copper rods, and a whole bunch of capacitors. Nowhere near as many as I actually need for this, but let's see how many accumulators that actually gets us. 3.5 stacks. I'm a bit short. Jeez, I'm really... Oh my goodness me. What did we need? 22.5 stacks. Okay, well, let's plan these out and see how it goes. Oh, and you can get out of it with your donkeys, taking up my valuable space. Don't you know this is a dangerous power station, sir? And I purposely built it on an island to keep it away from you lot, villagers and the likes, coming here causing problems. I don't want any of your wine. I don't need your donkeys. Unless you've got redstone, which you haven't, you're dead to me. Go away. And that's as far as I've got. Not even 1 layer for the whole thing. So I need at least 5 times more than I've got. And then we've got a leak? Oh, jeez. Where's my leak? Oh, my basalt farm. I didn't even know that was still on. Oh, jeez, I'm on fire. Yeah, I forgot you teleport to it when you click the where's the leak at. Oh, gee, I didn't even know you was... Oh, jeez, look at it. Oh, no. Now, I've still got a little bit of redstone left, but not really enough to get anywhere close to where I wanted to be, but I might at least be able to get 1 layer of each of these things in. And bear in mind, each one of these can store 18 million energy, even just as a single stack. So that's going to be plenty of energy getting stored initially, I guess. So yeah, let's go build a few more, waste the last bit of redstone I've got, and then we can actually get this thing up and running. Okay, this is where we're at. I'm ready to craft a whole bunch more of these things. I've got more capacitors there. So how many am I going to get this time? Another 4.5 stacks. But I have got more capacitors, and I've got more brass being brewed back at my workshop. So let's go and grab that. There we go. Look at all that brass. I've also got logs being chopped in now, not as many as I need, but it'll give us another 4 stacks almost. Let's throw the logs back in here and the brass back in here. Get some more capacitors and a bunch more brass casing. And there we go. This should give us a maximum amount that we are able to build today from all of the resources that I've gathered and created. So all in all, we've made nearly 12 stacks of accumulators. That's not too bad. It's nowhere near what I needed, but it's close enough. It allows me to finish off the first layer with ease. And how many more am I going to get doubled up? Let's try and get 2 on each of the generators to a second stack size, and each one of these holds 36 million energy. We did, and I've still got a bunch left. Let's try and get the next row on these as well. We did, and I've still got 2 and a bit stacks left. Let's keep going. And wow, so we've got 3 block high for all of the rear rows and 2 block high for all of the front ones, which, doing the maths, enables us to store 1.4 billion energy. What? Yeah, each one of these holds 54 million. Each one of these holds 36 million. We've got 16 of these and 16 of those. That's 1.4 billion energy. I think that'll be more than enough energy. I don't know if we even need any more of these, although it'll look nicer if we did. And it's bedtime again. Sleep. there we go. Everything is now in place. We've got our 8 generator coils, 4 on each side, all of our batteries, everything's connected together with our diamond wire, and I've even got that running to these pylons ready to go over to there, where we'll finally be starting our industrial area. But I haven't connected it or turned it on yet, but it is all just one step away from doing that. So I suppose it's time to find out if we can make over 1 billion energy. So popping down underneath this thing, each one of the coils is linked to the one the other side of it, if that makes any sense. And I've got the power from each one of the steam boilers just coming up either through the floor or through these tunnels here, ready to connect. So it's time to actually get them connected. Let's get some shaft, connect that one. There we go, they're spinning. Let's connect that one. Now I'm going to connect this one and then, oh. How did that? Okay, apparently that steam boiler's not working very well. We'll worry about that in a minute. Let's connect this one. That one's going okay. And let's see if we're generating tons and tons of power. So this is saying that's not making any at all. No, that's useful. What about the one over here? Is this making anything? No. But is that just because it's going straight into the... Oh, it is. It's going into the batteries. So the way this should work, it should come off the carbon brushes, through this electrical connector, down to the big battery, and then straight through into the small battery, and then through this cable here all the way over to there. So these ones should be filling up, but it looks like these ones are, and these ones are not. Okay. But this one's getting so it all seems to be going into this one rather than the other ones. That's generating 2.9 thousand energy. So yeah, I guess it's going to fill this one up first for some reason, and not those ones. And what about the ones on the other side? Are we getting the same sort of thing? Yeah, this one's already got over 4 million in it, whereas those ones are not really getting anything at all. What about if we go over to our electricity endpoint here? Are these getting anything? Yeah, these have got nothing, but then they're not connected to anything. If I click on that, pull, inert pull. I'm not really sure what that means. So the issue with the steam boiler that was overstressed is this one. The other ones are all fine, but for some reason I need to keep switching around the pumps on here in order for the water to fill in properly. It's just one of those weird bugs, but there we go. Look, it's not got enough water. If I spin that round and then spin that one round, it will then go back to max and it will kick in properly again. I don't know why it does that, but anyway, I've been letting this thing run for a few minutes now, so we should be starting to accumulate a whole bunch of energy in these things, and I'm thinking one of the reasons why it's not quite working the way I expected to is just because I've got literally everything connected to everything else, which is probably causing a little bit of a problem. But let's just see. This one here now has the full amount, 54 million energy. That one is now charging up. This one is charging up slow. No, that one's still just ticking. This one is slowly charging up as well. Yeah, this one's nearly at 54. This one's at 27. This one's at 54. So yeah, we're generating a whole bunch of energy now, and it really doesn't look like it's going to take that long to get all of these absolutely filled to the brim. And all in all, I really like the look and the layout of this. I think it does look very electrical grid type thing, which is basically what I was going for. And that means that this nuclear power plant area is really coming together now, and I would say almost complete. But I did say in the last episode we're going to have a whole bunch of Applied Energistics 2 stuff here, but that's not going to be happening today. Obviously that's going to be happening very soon, but because this is the last episode of my third phase in this world, there's going to be a patron world download very soon, so check my Discord for announcements and links for that, and you'll be able to get here and play with this power station and show me all of the things that I've done wrong with it, I guess. So between now and the next episode, I'm just going to tinker in this area, make sure all of our power stuff is working, and then in the next episode we can either start our Applied Energistics 2 stuff, or more likely we'll start over at our industrial area so we can actually start gathering some of the resources, like redstone, that have been severely lacking in this episode.